Yes, people, and welcome back to Spurs Kings TV. And look, we done it, man. We hit that 3K, baby. And who
Big 3K.
Marlon don't
here?
look happy. He does.
Man, like, Marlon is here. Sorry, bro, we had to start without you, man. I
Oh
know.
my god.
We had to start without you, man. We had to listen, people. Look, I didn't get no message. I didn't get no like, I'm gonna be late, honey. I didn't get none of that.
Honey is crazy. Nah, Honey is
I said, yo,
crazy.
what's going on?
Hey yo.
He stole the show.
Hey
You know what?
yo.
Man's gonna have to just start the show, right? I don't know what's going on. Not even a text like, yo, how you doing? Nothing. So I said, you know what? We're starting right now. All right.
Oh
But
my.
how are you doing, Marlon? You right, yeah? You good, yeah?
Yeah, man. I told you I was doing airport run today. You knew. It's like we hadn't spoken on Saturday.
Oh, I did forget. My bad.
Oh wow. After all that.
Whoops.
All of that.
Listen, I got a lot on my mind, man. That's what I'm saying. I got a lot going on, man. But yeah, big up, man. Big up, Marlon. Big up the panel. We just have to fling it on real quick. Big up to the Spurs fans in the comments. And yeah, man, let's get into it, man. Let's talk about it. We've got a few giveaways, obviously. I don't know if we want to talk about that first, Marlon.
Yeah, well, first of all, yeah, we've got a few giveaways that we'll do halfway through in the show. We've got a members one, which we'll do in the next 20 minutes. And then at 11, probably an hour into it, we'll do the main giveaway where anyone in the chat can enter as long as you're a subscriber. We've got a Van der Ven shirt to give away and a Sun shirt to give away, Sun Europa League shirt to give away. So look out for that in the next hour. But Ash, let's talk about Saturday. Let's talk about Saturday.
All right, we're starting positive, yeah?
Let's start. It's only positives, isn't it? Hey, I don't want to speak out of Vicario too early.
No? All right, cool, man. Yeah, no, listen. I don't know about the rest of the panel, but I never saw that coming. I'll be real. I was kind of blown away by the result. And like you said it halfway through, you were like, oh, boom. What are you saying? Brighton, halftime?
Yeah,
3-2?
yeah. Look,
And I got nervous. I got little flashbacks. I got sweats. I got a bit hot. I can't lie. But I just said, you know what? We've got this, man. I just felt like the energy was right. I said, no way could we do the same thing, the same mistake twice. And I said, yeah, we've got this. We're going to win this. You know what? Against Man City, they just beat our whipping boys. That's what it is. So, yeah, man. We move.
George, go on, talk to me about Saturday. How was you feeling when 2-0 up at half time? What's going through your head? When did you go, this result's in the bag?
Do you know what? For me, don't get me wrong, the doubt did set in just a little. Just a little. I was thinking this ain't going to be an Amex Stadium again. I can't have this. But do you know what? I felt like from the start of the game, I felt like we was a lot more controlled in the way that we attacked, the way that we approached. Every time we got onto the ball, we wasn't trying to do the basketball transition where we just got the ball, started to run at Man City, tried to create something, and then they come straight back onto us. When we was being a bit slower in the build-up, being more wise on the ball, and we saw that in the midfield. So in the second half, the one thing I was looking out for is the first 10 minutes. We've noticed with Spurs, with the first 10 minutes of the second half tells you how the rest of the half's going to go. Because in games that we're behind, like the West Ham and the Aston Villa games, we come out that first 10 minutes, we get a few goals, and our heads are held high, and we start to play a bit differently. In that first 10 minutes of the City game, I felt like you could tell they didn't really open us up too much. We started off the half the way that we ended it, and we started to build confidence. For me, Kulusevski, man, as the new name it is, it's the deck he had. Like he ran that game ragged. Manchester yet again. We saw what he done it in Old Trafford, and now he's doing it again in City. He said prior to the game he looked forward to these games. He can't wait to play the big teams, and that's the confidence we need from our biggest players. And I think that's the performance that we needed from him, but not only him, the team, because there was a lot of words that will be spoken about Dragusin and Davies, rightly so, after their performance in the Europa League. And yeah,
George, just a quick one. Your mic sounds a bit mad. I can't lie. It sounds a bit.
I can't lie, I had turned down my volume because I was like, maybe it's me, bro.
What is
what I'm saying?
burning?
I just let it go.
Like, oh,
Hey, the static is crazy.
It connected to my webcam mic. Is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
There we
Yeah,
go.
bro.
You sound
You lot
lovely
be
now,
saying
George.
that.
Hey, it's coming out.
George
It's
Hey,
sounding crazy.
when I listen back
That's
to it on
much better.
Spotify, it's gonna sound crazy. I
Is it
apologize to
definitely?
my Spotify listeners, but yeah, sorry. Carry on. I apologize. Carry on.
No, but yeah,
Oh,
back
shit.
back to it. No, I just felt like it was the confidence we needed, especially from that back line, because we know going into all these other games. For me, I was expecting to concede a couple against City. I knew with Dragusin and Davies, the way that they performed against Galatasaray, we was opened up at the back. We let 33 shots hit our goal. And even again against City, we did give up a lot of shots, but we was a lot more defensively resolute. And I feel like we moved the team a bit better. We were sort of shifting from side to side as a team rather than leave the gaps open like against Brighton. Whenever they come down the right-hand side, the left-hand side was open and so on. So, yeah, no, it was a much better performance.
Elijah, bring you in because obviously you were very what's the word, doubting of Spurs for the whole week. You know, I saw your videos, I saw them. Come on, what happened? Why didn't you believe Spurs could win 4-0 at the Etihad?
Sure, that grin on your face is crazy. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I ain't gonna lie, the grin was crazy. I'm gonna be real. Yeah, nah, no one on this panel thought we were gonna win. I'm gonna be real. No one on this panel thought we were gonna win. Maybe except for Oren, innit? Maybe. But it was crazy. I was cooking on my stream. I had to leave early because I had to go to work. But as soon as it was 2-0, I knew the game was done because it's Haaland. Haaland's dead, innit? He's gonna miss like 12 chances every game. So yeah, I'm happy as hell. Now I'm not happy though because Vicario's out and we've got my man in goal. But I'm happy. I'm a happy man. It doesn't change my opinion on Ange. I always give him to the end of the season. But I'm glad we got the win at Etihad because I got to cook on stream and it just makes for great content. That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, that's really it, man.
But Elijah, for you, right? When we went 1-0 up against the run of play,
Mm-hmm.
when did you start feeling confident within the team that they actually could pull off a result?
At 2-0. As soon as it was 2-0, I thought the game was done. Just because of how Man City kept wasting chances. Because Man City had shots. Haaland, Foden, they all had shots and they weren't great attempts. So at that point, you can kind of tell with City what they're going to be looking like because they're going to create the chances no matter what. It's whether or not they're going to hit the target. And if they don't hit the target, then you know you're in for a chance. As soon as Maddison made it 2-0, I could see the frustration on Haaland. I saw the frustration on Akanji, on Pep, the Three Stooges who were laughing at the Carabao Cup. I made sure to point that out during the stream. Are they laughing now? And yeah, apparently they drew to Feyenoord. I just saw that. But yeah, as soon as the 2-0, as soon as the 2-0 hit, I saw the Man City players, and I knew it was done at that point.
Oren, probably the only confident man who saw that City result coming. But come on, even you must have been surprised by that scoreline.
Yes, the scoreline 4-0. But I think I even WhatsApp you. Remember, lads, it's Man City. Just like, because even the first goal, it was just a match that I think all Spurs fans want to see the team play. You know, they want to see those players do that on the pitch. They talk to each other. They had a togetherness. And yeah, it's like, yes, the 4-0, I was kind of surprised at that, but Spurs winning. And I think we talked about this. Like, how many times have we talked about what Man City's going to do to Spurs? And then afterwards, you talk about how did Spurs do that? You know, that whether it's a draw or a win. It's Spurs, like Man City's biggest kryptonite is Spurs. Like, they just cannot seem to beat Spurs when they need to. And we even talked about it. We said, like, Spurs could have half their player team missing and they'll just find a way to win. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, it was good, and it's like, but I think for me the big game is Fulham. Like, that's the biggest. That's bigger than Man City game at home. And can Spurs win a second game in a row in the Premiership? I think, like, because if that doesn't happen, everything and all the happiness that, you know, Spurs fans are having will just deplete, and it'll be raging, and it'll be back to Ange out, Ange this. So I think that's why, even if you looked at Ange, he was kind of like subdued, because he knows that, yeah, it's about Fulham, and then the next game after that, and the next game after that to get the run going. So
Dan, your famous saying, but even your famous saying kind of took a little bit of a twist, but you're probably still right. What's your famous saying?
Same Spurs, different day.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was, yeah. No, and the reason why I'm saying it was because if you look at our record this season, we either batter a team or we lose. It's just the same old. So, again, for you, right, because you've been a big advocate of you don't like Ange, you this, that, and the other, but was there any praise for you on Sunday for how Ange went into that game, especially the Maddison call?
Big time. I mean, I ain't an Ange fan. You know all that. I'll go into that later if we go into it. And I just don't think he's made for the Premiership overall. Right. But I will credit when credit is due. Same as I will slam when it is due. I think Ange, for once, looked at something and thought, yeah, I've got to fix up. And I've got to fix up good. And I think he actually steps off his high horse for a bit. And I think, for once, this man done what me and quite a few other Spurs fans have been screaming for him to do, and that is have a plan B. Because that is one thing this man don't have. And I'd say first 10, 15 minutes, I mean, City don't scare me so much. Reason being, because City make us, to an extent, play the way they do. They do it to every team. They push you back. You have to fight from the back. And that is how I feel Spurs are a better team. And for the first 10, 15 minutes, they was all over us. I was waiting for that goal to come. Then Madders put it in the back of the net. I was like, okay. I found it hard to cheer. I was just like, okay. And then we went 2-0 up. Okay. Let's see what we do in the second half. It's Tottenham. You're waiting for something to go wrong. But after the first 10, 15 minutes, I'll go back to that, yeah? It changed. I don't know what Ange shouted. I don't know what he did, but it changed. You could see the formation changed. You could see the style changed. We weren't playing with stupid inverted wing-backs, two at the same time, running about like a pair of headless chickens, blocking up Maddison up the top so he's got no one to pass to, with two centre midfield sitting on his backside so he can't even look behind him. We had two centre-backs, players centre-backs. We had two wing-backs, players wing-backs, full-backs, not inverted wing-backs. Lo and behold, things start looking normal on a Spurs pitch because you've got players playing the normal way. And from there, I think Ange had put it to a plan B, told them, right, this ain't working, this is the way. We focused on the middle, which was their weakest point. I don't think that was just a fluke. I think Ange had that pre-prepared as well. And it all goes from there, basically. And it put a smile on my face at the end of the day because didn't we look like a 10 times better team not playing, and I do hate this phrase, but Ange ball. We played fast, counter-attacking football. So many people tell me that's boring. Well, 4-0 against City weren't boring for me. And we did not play how Ange usually plays, and we looked 10 times the team for it. I think Ange had a plan B. Question is, can he keep up with it?
So Ash, big call on Saturday, and I want to talk about him majorly, and that's James Maddison. Look, Ange and Maddison obviously had a to-dos. There was something not right for him to come on. Look, for me, and I think we both spoke about this on Saturday. For him to only come on in the 85th minute against Ipswich, something was up. But Ange made a big call and brought him right into the starting lineup and dropped Brennan Johnson, which, considering the form and the goals and whatnot and the pace, he was expecting Brennan Johnson to come in. But why did Ange bring Maddison in such a big game?
Well, before the game, he actually spoke and he said the reasons why he brought Maddison into the team. And he said, I think it was similar to the last game we played at home, not the one in the cup, but the one before that. He said that he wanted to gain control. And what he meant by that is, I think with Maddison, you get a certain degree of control when you're trying to build out from the back. Now, I'm not saying that's Ange ball, but I think that is a part of the reason why Maddison was deployed in that team, as opposed to maybe a Johnson. So he obviously used Kulusevski on the right. Kulusevski, again, good in possession. So I think that might have been the reason why he put Madison into the team, because he recognized, actually, I need to tweak a few things. I don't want to move too away from my philosophy, but at the same time, I want to be able to build up in a different way. I want to be able to, when we're trying to transition, hold on to the ball. And I think Madison was a big reason for that, in my opinion. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't want to talk too much. I want to let others go, innit?
Yeah.
That's
George,
my opinion. I don't
George, I
know.
want to bring you in on it as well. The Madison call for you. I'm not entirely sure how you've been feeling about Madison in the last few weeks. So, but was it really interesting to see Madison brought into the starting lineup in probably what was a big game, considering the fallout for the last few weeks?
Do you know what? I'm not surprised to see Madison come into the lineup. I was more surprised to see the way that he shifted Kulusevski out on the right-hand side to allow Madison to play in that 10 role. I think what it done was, like Dan pointed out, was a little shift in the system and a change that allowed us to play better, because Kulu just had a complete free role. He wasn't restricted like he was last season out on that right-hand side. You saw him drifting in the middle, drifting out on the left, sort of doing the same thing he would do in the 10 role, just being deployed out on the right. We looked so much better without Brennan Johnson. I think that's what a big thing was. Brennan Johnson tends to be a shadow in our games. He just sort of floats in on that right-hand side, waiting to make a run like he did at the end of the game. But if there's not that pass available, he doesn't offer anything outside of it. So I think that just allowed Kulusevski to have that freedom to come inside and bring Madison to play the role that we brought him to do. I do think that game was one that he needed, like you say, coming early, and he got the 2 goals. But we need to see the consistency from Madison. I think the biggest thing for him is we know he has the ability to do this, but the problem is, can he do this across a long period of time, or can he do this consistently in the big games? So it's good to see from him, but from Madison and being a player at his age and vice captain, I need to see this more. So good start. Can you do it again?
Do you think he can though? Like you're saying, you want to see him do it more and more often. Do you think it's in him to actually go and have these games more and more often? Like you personally?
I've accepted he's not an X Factor player. I've accepted he's never going to be De Bruyne. He's never going to be Odegaard. He's never going to be Bruno. He's not that player. I just don't think he ever has been at Leicester. We had questions regarding him, going missing at the end of the season. Whenever they would fall off, it was due to Madison being one of those players that were pulling them behind. And for me, as I said, Kulusevski, I'm his biggest fan. I'm the guy that's been pulling on the train and been on that train since he signed Spurs. I think he can be that player for us. He can take the role and leap. Like, forget about Madison. He's the 10 that I'm willing to put all my eggs in that basket. So, yeah, that's the way I see it.
Just the reason why I'm asking that is because if you look at the statistics behind it, Madison has been our most influential player, considering the form of Kulusevski that we will, like the eye test will tell us Kulusevski, but the actual stats behind it will tell us Madison.
Yeah.
And is it surprising when we come up against a team like Ipswich and other teams where we are looking for that goal? Madison is either missing, well, not missing, but he was missing so much of a chunk of that game that Ange was at fault for not bringing him on a lot earlier,
100%.
considering the stats behind it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I do agree. I was looking at those games. In those games, I was waiting for Ange to bring him on and thinking, what's going on? And he was wrong for not doing that. Madison needs to have that impact. But clearly, as we've seen in some other games, I think the Europa League games in particular, Galatasaray and another one where Madison had a stinker, it's like Madison had a few chances to have that impact. Even AZ Alkmaar was at that game. He captained the team. He wasn't really having he was decent, but he wasn't having a strong performance. So he's had the chances and he didn't really show it. So he'd lost that belief in Ange, I think it is.
Elijah, I want to bring you in on it, right? So obviously we get the first goal. Madison scores a great goal, but then the second goal is an eye of beauty. It was a beautiful finish. I was literally going to punch Ash in the face because of what Son actually nearly messed up the chance, and I was going to hit him, but I was like, no, keep calm. But he lays a beautiful death pass into Madison, and Madison chips it over. Again, Madison. Why are we suddenly seeing this change of form in him?
He's finally playing in the 10. I feel like that's really it, because like before it was the 4-3-3 with like the double pivots and all that, and now Madison's playing in the 10. He has the freedom to roam and the freedom to drop back and actually help link up play, because I think Madison came in partly because Bentancur's not there, because Bentancur, he's a lot more calm presence in the ball.
Yeah.
Basuma and Sarr, they're both kind of rash runners in a sense. And that's not me trying to bash them. I just mean like sometimes they don't really think, they just go. And we saw it with Basuma because he got booked in like 0.5 seconds into the game. So we know they're going to go and just charge in head first. So having Maddison drop deep, operate almost between Sarr and Basuma, help the link up play from the back, and then float into the box. That's basically what happened for both goals. And having the freedom to be able to do that without having people crowd him, that's the problem. I mean, Oren brought this up already backstage, but telling you, doggy, to, you know, stay on that left hand side, stop trying to come into my space, let me do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And having that sort of control, having that sort of leadership, which is something that we've been screaming for this Tottenham team to have, some form of vocal leadership, because we just have do it by example players instead of actual people who will shout at you. So seeing that is great. Seeing Maddison take that on is great. And it just exudes a level of confidence, especially after that first goal, which was a great team goal. When you're 1-0 up and you're on the press and it looks like you're about to get a second, you're buzzing, you're full of energy, full of form. So I'm happy that Maddison's back in the team, and I think that he got to play in that 10, man. He has to play in that 10 because having someone like Maddison on the bench when our squad is as thin as it is, doesn't make any sense for me. We've got to play as many of our best players as we can.
Dan, I want to bring you in before I bring in Oren, right? So
Mhm.
you're obviously a man that was screaming for Kulu to come into the middle, right?
Mhm.
You've always said it, you know. I was with you on it, but as you said earlier, there was a plan B.
Mhm.
But was it a great decision to move Kulu? Like, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, but was it a great decision? And how was you at the time when Kulu was moved to the right and Maddison was brought back in the middle? What was going through your head?
I was fine because it was obvious why he'd done it to me.
Yeah.
Everyone else has got their own view on it. Kulu is better in the middle, period. End of. No two ways about it. It's his natural position. Juventus sussed him out when they got Chiesa, stuck him in the middle, and Ronaldo absolutely loved him off behind him. And he plays more consistent in the middle. He plays better in the middle. On the right, he's so shaky, so predictable with his left foot, usually. This one, he was given a free role, but he wasn't even there to have the free role. He was put there for one main reason, and that was to cover Porro's ass. Because Johnson ain't covering nothing. One of the problems we've had in a lot of games, look what happens when we put poor little Archie Gray in the left or in the right. What does every team do? Focus on him straight away. Can Son cover you? So much. Can Werner cover you? Meh. Can Johnson cover you? Not a chance in hell. There's nothing of the boy. You know, he comes near you, slap him, he hit the floor like a sack. There is nothing of him. He cannot do it. It is not his game. Kulu can. And that is exactly what he did several times during that game. When Porro came forward, or when it came back to him, Kulu covered him. But he also done a lovely drifting role as well. He was allowed to play free football. He wasn't just stuck out on the right where he's pragmatic on his left foot. He got it right. Simple as that. And that's why I reckon you saw Maddison and Kulu start. Because someone needed to cover that wing for us. Because down our wing backs is our weak spots, definitely. And he covered him all the way. That's why I reckon he brought Kulu on and swapped him about with Maddison.
Oren, I want to quickly just bring you in on the whole Kulu-Maddison debate. Do you think long term that if Maddison keeps up his performances, Kulu will be moved out to the right, or do you think there is space for two of them in this team, or do you think there'll be a time when Kulu has to come out and Maddison comes in? Like, well, it's a great headache for Ange to have, let's be honest, but he's going to have to make a decision, because the reason why I'm asking is if we look at our midfield three this season, it's been quite inconsistent. It's either been Bentancur, Basuma, Sarr, or Kulu, Maddison, or Kulu, or vice versa, or someone else at Bergval's come in. And that probably, as people have said, that's probably why the results have been inconsistent.
Right. I think it's down to how do I describe this?
Try your best.
Yeah, it was
Hard choice.
Man City would have prepared to have Kulusevski in the middle,
Yeah,
and Johnson on the right. Saw the team sheet and went, "Oh shit, it hasn't happened that way." So now they have to refocus on what to do. Kulusevski's a big guy, so Ange probably went and said, "Right, is Johnson physical enough?" No, he's not. He's not. He's no matter what team he plays, he's not physical enough. Like, I don't believe Johnson is a winger. I think he's just been put there and learning the game. I've always said I think he's more number 10.
Yeah.
Kulusevski, yes, he is good down the middle, but Spurs have Maddison. So he's going to have to take one for the team and go on the right and play that drift role, be able to come in. Because what I think Ange wants is that players in attack to play multiple roles. They don't have to just stick to one position to like drift inside, because Son was drifting inside as well, and create that dynamic. And so like when Maddison came in, I was like, right, okay. And I think Ange said he trained during the week, he got his coach right. And I think Ange proved that if you're not in form, you're not playing. He's proved that. And so many Spurs fans have criticised the likes of Poch. Why isn't he dropping this player? He's out of form, Jose and everything. And he's done it. He's like, Matters, you haven't performed. I think he was even asked when Maddison scored a free kick against Villa, I think. He was like, do you think Maddison should be in the England team? And he said, it takes more than a free kick to be in the England team. That's a kick up the ass. That's not, oh, he's a brilliant player. So I think Maddison was got to kick up the ass. He realised he's not comfortable, and Ange is not going to be afraid to drop him or anybody in that team if they're not performing. And that's what I got out from all of it. It doesn't matter who you are, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Romero when he's fit. Well, Ange says no. Radu's playing good there. I'm going to keep him there. You haven't been properly informed. You play in the Europa League. I think that's what Ange has to start doing. We want that manager. I think every Spurs fan would like to see a manager like that for Spurs. Someone who's about the club and says, right, no player's bigger. If you're out of form, you're not playing. And I think that's what happened with Maddison. So Maddison had a point to prove. It worked for Ange. And I think Maddison should, big kick up the ass. Because even at Leicester, he wasn't dropped. But at Spurs, he's realised, if I'm out of form, I ain't getting on team.
Can I ask a question off the back of that? Because I don't know, I'm hearing like a kind of scenario where some people believe that you need to adapt for every single game. And I want to know, do you adapt for every opposition that you play, or do you play the best 11? So as it stands, everyone's saying we should continue to play the way we played against Man City. Play the same team. Do you know what I'm saying? Play this team that's on form. Or do you tweak, okay, 1 minute you drop Maddison, 1 minute you play Maddison? Do you know what I'm saying? Depending on the opposition. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyone can jump in.
For me, that's opposition. That depends on the opposition. You've got to adapt game by game. This is Premier League. This ain't Scottish Premier League. Yeah? This is a league where every single team can beat you on its day. Any team can beat you at any time. Every team has its perks. Every team has its downside. Every team has its strong side. You've got to adjust to every game you play. Now, I'm not saying you've got to totally adapt, but you've got to adapt to certain things. When you're playing up against Liverpool, you've got to double up on Salah, not just stick Chicken Boyao or Ben Davis out there. You've got to double up on the man. You don't double up on him, you're getting hurt. Then you've got to look for weak spots in the team. And that is one thing I think Ange has failed at epically, but hopefully he's learning. And this is why I say you've got to adapt game by game. And certain games, you just can't go in playing gung-ho football, suicide tactics like Ange does, sitting on the halfway line. Because when you got like Newcastle and you got Gordon down one side, you got Illich down the middle and the other side, you're going to get cooked on the wings and down the middle. And it happens every time nearly. He's got to adapt game by game. He's got to read at their strong points and focus on it. I think sometimes we're going to be better off with Maddison as a 10, especially if he gets more of the space, because he's had no space at all where we push up so hard. But I think there's going to be other times where you're going to be better off with a Kulu there, because he's got a bit of playmaker about him. He's not as classy as Maddison, but he's got the muscle about him. He's got the strength to almost be a target man there. And this is where I feel you need to adapt game by game.
So you're sorry to cut you, because I understand your point, but so you're saying, and anyone can jump in as well, some games we need to play a Brennan Johnson then on the right, because that's the other option. You take Kulu out from the right, and then you have to play Brennan Johnson on the right. Well, are we not weakening the team by doing that, by adapting in certain situations? If the team's playing on form, Johnson's not quite that player where he can look after the ball, protect it. And I said at the start that what Ange looked at, he was like, actually, no, we need control. And actually, Johnson, when we're trying to build out, he doesn't give you much. In fact, the only thing that Johnson contributes, in my opinion, is when he's in that final third and he's arriving into that box and he's putting pulls away into the back of the net, or he's trying to smash the ball, not even looking up across the box. So is Ange now looking at that and thinking, all right, cool, boom, I might need to drop a Johnson and let me try and fix that kind of issue by putting Kulu there. He's going to be our outball at times. He's going to protect the ball. And as you said, Danny, as well, you said that the fullback is really exposed in Porro and Dragushin, in fact. And by having Kulu there, he's actually adding protection defensively and offensively. Anyone can jump in. I'm just throwing out caveats out there, bro.
No, our team just ain't great. No, go ahead. Sorry, my fault.
No, go ahead.
No, I say our team's just not great, innit? Like I want to be able to adapt to teams, and I want to be able to switch everything up. But I'm not even talking about tactics. I'm just talking about lineups right now. But our team ain't great because our cover now is Timo Werner. Our cover now is Fraser Forster. Our cover now is Archie Gray. You know what I'm saying? Like our and that's not to knock these players, but in terms of what we need right now, like it doesn't matter what they're going to be in like 2 or 3 years when talking about the young guys, but in terms of what we need right now, in terms of being able to just sub people out, sub people in, if we want the top 4 finish or whatever, that's not going to cut it. If we want that Europa League, that's not going to cut it. And I'm under the impression that we should play our best team as much as we can and then swap it out maybe at a halftime or something like that, because even if it's not looking like it's going to go well tactically down, we need players on the pitch that can just create something out of nothing. And if we take out Kulusevski for Brendan Johnson, he ain't doing nothing unless he's tapping the ball in at the back post. That's really it. Or he's on a counter attack. And taking out Kulusevski, he can create something out of nothing. We saw it against City. Maddison with his movement, his footballing IQ, we saw it against City, something out of nothing. Son can do something out of nothing for now, but he's getting kind of old. And to be fair, Solanke's pretty much undroppable at this point. So just having your starting players out there every time, your best players, we need that right now because our squad just ain't that good.
That's the thing, and that's what I was going to say, is that I think in the ideal situation, if you have enough, because I don't even think it's the problem of having enough quality. I think the problem with our team is we don't have enough different profiles of players. So when you look at that wing, we haven't got like a creative winger, someone who can get on the ball. Odegaard is supposed to be that, but he's been out, so he's not even an option. But having those different profiles available allow us to adapt to these games, minimal adapts. But like you said, if we're playing Brennan Johnson out on the right, for me, we're always going to be weakening our squad. So what Ange has to do in the meantime, in the fact that we haven't got that quality, is change the system, let Kulu play on that right and play the way we did against City, play with that team. Because if you look at our squad right now, there's no bench course. We haven't got another DM that can come in for Basuma. We haven't got another 8 that can come in for Papsar. We're literally, that 11 we've got out is all we've got available. So Ange has to play that system, and he needs to work with these players to get them used to that system, because playing Brendan Johnson out on the right is not going to make us better. Bringing Timo Werner out on the left is not going to make us better. And outside of them, we don't have any other options in that midfield or the back line to improve us. I mean,
what do you mean by improve the system? Like, what do you mean by he needs to get them to improve the system? What system?
So I think against City, he's shown tactical adjustments this season. I feel like in quite a few games from the first half to the second half, you've seen him take players off, bring another player in, and he's adjusting the system. I don't have a problem with the way that we defend necessarily. I think the players that are defending just aren't doing the basics. Like you pointed out, Dan, Brendan Johnson's not helping Porro on that right-hand side. Most of the goals we've conceded this season has been from Porro and Johnson just not marking their players. Basic stuff, getting goal side and not watching the runners. If he can improve basic things like that about the defense, then the system I don't think has too many problems. When we attack, I think we can be a bit rigid at times. Like I said, too many players clustered into the middle. Very similar to City. When you watch City and their problems and playing with so many central players, they don't have no one bringing that width. We need players that are going to provide width. And Porro and Udogie, for me, are two natural players that like to get at fullbacks. They like to run at players. They're very. I mean, Porro was one of the best 1v1 attacking wingbacks in Europe when we signed him. And Udogie, I don't know why we haven't seen it that much this season, but he's a powerful runner. He can take on his man. I feel like
overlapping is what they are. They are not inverted wingbacks, and it's taken my man 18 months to work this crap out.
And that's the point. I feel like we need to see these tactical adjustments just to see the players flourish a bit more and the system work. But I feel like if we had a better number 6, maybe he'd allow them to go forward a bit more. But
If we played with a number 6, that would help as well, wouldn't it?
Basuma's no good.
Sorry, Oren is.
You see what we actually done there, yeah? You see what's actually good with that last game? The thing I liked is when they overlapped, we had 2 half playing as DM. And when we went forwards, one of them actually stayed back and gave us 3 at the back. I don't know how many noticed that, but we were never just them 2 shy on their own. They either had Basuma standing right in front of them or even level with them at times. At times we played with 3 at the back.
That's the thing. That's how Ange wants the team to play. The player, I said it last stream. Ipswich, it didn't happen that way. Ange has said over and over again, we give them the foundations. It's up to the players to then work it out. I'm not on the pitch. They have to take responsibility. And I said it, remember us, I was saying how against Ipswich, Udogie would just bomb it forward. He would leave Bendencourt. He would even come back. Ange was screaming at him. Against Man City, if you saw Madison was screaming at Udogie, get behind me. What are you doing up? And eventually in the second half, that was what they learned. Perro didn't drive as deep. They only got forward when it was absolutely safe. Because for the first goal, it was Perro who made that inverted run past Kulusevski, which took like Guardiola, like he didn't know what to do, who to mark, and then that was enabled. So Perro has done it before, and Udogie's done it before, where they can either go inside or outside. It's not up to I think Ange realised that, right, I have to tell these players when to do it. But what he wants these players to do is to make that individual choice themselves, because he does say play with your freedom, and it's the same with like if you look at the first goal. If Romero was playing, that first goal would never have been scored because he would never have made that pass. Because Romero is like, I need to pass it straight down the middle, even when it's not on, or he'll pass it sideways. Dragusin went, I'm going to pass it right there. And even the commentary said, oh, he's overhit the pass. But it was actually such a good ball for Udogie. Ange has said it over and over. He said, it's up to the players. If you feel you have to play a long ball, play a long ball. Don't be afraid. Don't just play short passes. Get the ball forward and attack. And that's what he said. Run, pass and move, pass and move. And, sorry, the first goal, you see the build-up before it? You had Basuma, Radu, and Davies all in a triangle. And those triangles all over the pitch. Pass and move. Against Ipswich, players were just standing, waiting. If you look at all the goals Spurs scored, it was all caused from players passing and then moving afterwards, running for each other. That's Ange's system. So that's when Ange's system works, we're talking about great, relentless. But all it takes in that Ange system is a couple of players to go, I can't be bothered today.
Does that mean that these footballers...
Ash, before you carry on with the question, I want to do the first draw. I want to do the first members draw. And then you can ask your question and get back into it, right? So the first draw, is for this lovely bit of kit here. Van the bed. Members, right? So let me get it in. All right, ready? Ready? Let's go. Please contact us via email and we'll get this sent out to you. We're back.
Oh my god.
Nah, that sound effect's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That's a crazy ass.
That is how we do things on Spurs Kings TV.
That's a crazy ass sound effect, bro.
Rob Frank, you are the winner. Please contact us and we'll send that to anywhere you'd like to go.
That was cheesy, man.
Ferry next time.
What in the magical world is that? That sound, bro?
Yeah. Ask a question.
Should never give Marlon a soundboard again, bro.
Hey, that's not me. This is Ash. Ash,
That's Ash. Ash, we should never give you a soundboard. You know what? Take it from both of them, bro.
Hey, yo.
Ash, ask a
Nah,
question,
you ain't
man.
doing this
Ask
to
a
me, bro.
question.
Don't try.
No, I was
Can
gonna
I
say
ask a
that.
quick question, man? Can I
Go
ask a
on.
quick question, please?
Go on, go on.
Oren, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I get what you've said there, yeah, but I can't dig it. I can't go with that, yeah. Because for me, he changed the whole system there. And a lot of people said he totally changed the way we played, down to the way we played free at the back at times. We would never have done a long ball, usually. We never do. Because we always play it out of defence. Why? Because Ange has blatantly said that is how he wants it done. So was this a plan B? Or was it just City forced it into us? So we said, damn it, when in doubt, kick it out, yeah? I'm giving my man credit here.
Yeah, but it
I'm
wasn't.
saying that he told them to do this differently because we was never going to outplay from City. Never, ever, ever. It weren't going to happen. And we done different things from the direct passing. We don't usually do. It's always tip tap. Even the goalkeeper took long kicks out. Are you telling me Vicario, Romero, and Van der Ven have sat there over 18 months and never crossed their mind once to kick that ball long?
Romero
They
does.
have kicked the ball long
I
though.
think Romero does it often, and that's
They
what
have. The thing is, again,
He doesn't do it like
if you look at the teams Spurs have lost against, it's basically teams that have pressed or have sat deep. So therefore, there was no room for playing a long ball. And again, it's basically Ange. For me, Ange has said openly like he has a system, he has a thing, but again, it's up to the players. And we know through the history of watching Spurs players, they will play what they're told. Because if they get criticized, it's not their fault, it's the manager's fault. Harry Winks, for example, was a big example of that. Pierre, the last player, Pierre would, like a robot, if you told him to run straight, he would just run straight the whole game. There was no initiative. And I think I'm not saying Ange might have, like, I think what Ange's realized is that maybe he has to tell the players when to do it instead of them working out for themselves. But like at the same time, it should be initiative. It's like,
Okay.
right, if we're gonna, Dragusin looks up and plays the ball that, I don't think Romero would have played, but is it because Dragusin said, I'm gonna do it?
But Oren, don't you think it's fair to say that that's not even a trait that Dragusin carries? Because I don't think that Dragusin does that often. I feel like that was a one-time thing that he done the long ball and it worked off.
In Italy, he used to do it. In Italy, he used to pump the ball out because
He
he had the power
plays
to
it
do it.
long, but whenever I see him on the ball, like even against City, I did think at times he was moving very slow. Like what I think City failed to do was use him as the press trigger and double team him. If they'd done that well, like Galatasaray did, then and even AZ Alkmaar, most teams that have played against Dragusin at the back, then we would have suffered. I just think that their press was so bad that allowed Dragusin so much time.
Dragusin is a centre back, and we played him as a centre back through and through. We didn't try playing him as a ball playing defender, and that's all there is to it with him. In Italy, he was a force. He used to pump that ball over from the back all the time, but sit there as an old school defender, centre back, a John Terry, a Tony Adams, someone like that. He's not no ball playing defender.
I think another thing that it gets overlooked, but I think that another big difference, and again I talked about it like last stream, is Bissouma was in, and I said, Ash, we talked about Bissouma and Bentancur. If Tottenham brought a new midfielder, who would go? And we were like, either or. Bissouma offers more ability. He's able to, get into space quicker, which I think does help the likes of Radu and Davies. He's able to create a back three. Whereas Bentancur, I watched, he would just stay in the middle or he would amble back, then he'd dilly-dally in the ball. I think Ange realised that it's about personnel, and it's really about, okay, playing these players that can be safe in each other and work for each other. And I thought Bissouma also allows Sarr to get, more forward. He did commit a foul within the first couple of minutes. And again, people can look at that and go, he's rash. But then again, he played the whole entire without getting booked. And he just marshaled. Ange wants leaders in that pitch. And he, hopefully that's, he'll get it, because that's why he named those captains, Romero, Madison, Song. It was like, right, it's not going to be one captain, it's going to be three captains in different positions, and I want you to talk, lead. Radu played great because I think Davies was talking to him and getting him. I really think that.
Elijah, was it you that said about the profile of players? And
It was George, to be fair.
was it George?
Okay,
I
brought it up kind of, but
you did bring it up as well. So do you think like the profile of the players at the back was the reason why they kind of went long. Like if you look at Romero compared to maybe a Jagushin, Romero for me can do short passing, is a bit more press resistant than a Jagushin in my opinion. Can pause on the ball as well. He's a person that can put his foot on the ball, look around, and then pass through the lines. Whereas I think with Jagushin, he's a better, I would say, ball carrier. As Dante said, he can switch to play or go long. And I say the same about Ben Davies. Ben Davies is not a ball carrier, no way. But what Ben Davies is a steady Eddie, keep it simple type of player compared to what a Mickey van der Ven is. Mickey van der Ven can grab that ball from all the way back and then
United,
literally, remember what he did at Everton, then Man United. Exactly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you think the reason why it was a lot more simple, like play it long, was because of the profile of the centre backs as opposed to what Ange is telling these players to do? Or do you agree with Dan? Do you think it was Ange that said, these players need to pump it long? We're playing City, pump it long. Give it Vicario, pump it long. Like, what do you think it is? In your opinion?
I hate to be that guy in it, but it's a bit of both in a way, because in the first 2 minutes, like I was watching the game on stream, the first 2 minutes, I seen Davies and Dragerson on the halfway line. And I'm thinking this gonna be one of them days. Like my chat was telling me, it's gonna be one of them games, bro. I seen them both on the halfway line, and I was damn near shouting at my monitor, like, what is going on? And
4 times they nearly cooked us being on the halfway line in the first 10 minutes.
Literally, like the start of the game, it was like that, and Haaland was getting chances, and I thought it was going to be one of them games. I'm gonna be real, and the line ended up dropping. We ended up keeping the ball, and I think it's down to player profile because, to be fair, I don't know how many of these are Ange signings. I don't think many of them are, but at the same time, he has to work with what he's got. And Dragerson, he's used to playing in the back three. I think he played in the back three at Genoa. So he played in the back three where you have the ability to carry the ball, to hold on to it, to play a long pass. Like you have a bit more freedom because you have 2 other central defenders with you. So going from a back three to playing
in the back two,
sometimes a back two plus playing a high line sometimes, it's a big ask of a player, especially someone that's so young who doesn't have the experience of doing it. So sometimes you're just going to end up clearing it. Like Ange, I'll give him the credit to a certain extent. You got to play it forward sometimes, and Dragerson, sometimes he just played it. And I have to give him credit because I've been very critical of Dragerson. I've always called him, the dragon that don't scare no one, the dragon from Shrek. I've gave him a lot of nicknames, but I have to give him credit. He played well. And I think it's a bit of both. Ange obviously has to change it because Bentancur's not there. We don't have a holding midfielder that can just keep the ball, play the ball, because we have Bissouma and Sarr in there. Bentancur's not there. So there's a lot of changes that had to be made. I'll always give the manager credit when it's due. I'll always give the players credit when it's due. I think it's a bit of both.
Another thing I was hearing as well. Sorry. I was going to say another thing I've been hearing is obviously people want to see Dragusin and Ben Davies stay. Like, do you lot agree with that? Like, do you think, they're on form? If Romero comes back, he should stay on the bench and have to fight for his way back.
I thought you meant in a club.
If this comes back to Ange, just right. This is the question. Then I'll have for everybody. Yeah. So from what I'm hearing of people is we basically ended up playing that way because City made us play that way. Yeah. Players had to adapt on themselves. Yeah. Yeah, right. So Ange gets no credit now because all the players adapted.
Not necessarily, because Ange has to pick the team. So the fact that he pulled out,
but he was forced to pick 2 of those players. Johnston, fine.
Yeah, you pulled out
the rest of them.
But I feel like he managed
how to do it. He's told them how to do a plan B.
Yeah, I give him credit for picking the team. I give him credit for picking the team and telling them.
I'm crediting the man. I feel I'm actually giving him more credit than you lot here. Because I'm saying he had a total plan B, and I've always said this man hasn't got a clue on how to do it any other way but his way. So I'm bigging him up big time here, yeah? I think he just sussed this out totally, that his way weren't the way. Because didn't we look stronger at the back? With just 2 straight centre-backs, no inverted wing-backs.
You know what it is?
We go back to pushing up.
The whole
we go back to pushing up, Ash, yeah?
No, I hear it.
In the first 10 minutes, if Haaland would have been on form, we would have been 4-0 down.
That's
Simple
the
as that.
point, though, Dan. So when we're saying they had a good performance, it's relative to the fact that City didn't finish any of their chances. City had a bad day. Like in
They
front
did.
of goal, they had a
Yeah.
lot of chances. If we're being honest, if they was normal
Haaland's
City, they
always
could have
missing,
scored
yeah.
3 or 4, just like we
We
could have.
did to them what teams usually do to us.
Yeah, they just
Pretty
buried
much.
the chances that they get, and exactly
Mhm.
that. But ultimately, let's be honest. Again, Galatasaray, AZ Alkmaar, Karabakh, we've seen Davies and Dragusin show their ass to us against shit players. Like, quite frankly, some really bad European sides that shouldn't be challenging us. AZ Alkmaar, that was a close game
But
towards
they
the
were still sitting on the halfway line.
yeah.
Now
But
they were sitting back as centre backs. Was that because Ange told them to, or
no,
because
that's
City
because the
made
way
them
that
do it?
City play, they force you back. They've got too many good players on the ball that we can't peg City back. We're not going to get City into a low block. We're
But
So
not.
they'd
two
rather sit
centre
back
backs
as well.
look two centre backs look better playing as centre backs than
Yeah,
playing as centre
the thing is,
midfielders, basically.
but if you watch,
Yeah.
the thing is, what I've like, I think I was talking about this before we came on. What I've noticed is that if Spurs score first, they tend to sit back because then they can counter attack. But when they don't score first, because that's the thing, Spurs have conceded the first goal, and so therefore they have to always be attacking to get that.
Mm.
And if you watch against United, how did the goal came? The first goal was Mickey van de Ven just going down. It wasn't kind of like 1-2 attacking. It was just like he gets the ball and just ran. No one came near him. He crosses the ball. But then if you watch after that, the goals all came from Spurs sitting back. I think the second goal was Kuleveski. It was a clearance from the defence that was sitting deep.
Mhm.
Solanke got the ball, headed it,
Yeah.
or something like that. And then the third goal was almost the same.
We have the most transition goals in the league this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
I picked it up. When Spurs score first, they sit
That's
back.
correct. Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
with Romero and Van de Ven, because then they have the speed to counter attack.
Yeah.
But when Spurs don't score first and say they get the goal scored, then they have to push everybody up to try and get that goal.
It's a bit like Klopp. Like Klopp would try to use the energy of the crowd and play really fast rock and roll football and try and get that goal first.
Yes.
And try to blow teams away. And then that's how Liverpool would like destroy teams. Whereas Slot's a bit different, where he kind of manages it a bit different. In second half, he tries to blow the team away. Like he tries to figure out the opponent. So I think Ange is a bit similar to what Klopp is in terms of he wants to get that cushion. He wants to get the 1 or 2 goals first. And then, as you guys were saying, when the teams do come on, because they need to get back into games, like City. City want to get back in the game, so they committed more bodies forward, which then allowed Spurs to kind of play out from the back. Once Spurs played out from the back, and we were successful at it, then that's when it looked like a counter-attack. But all it was is Spurs successfully doing what we do, and then quickly transitioning up the pitch because we drew the opposition in that way. And City, obviously, they tried to press us, but they were unsuccessful. And that's when we got a goal. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way I see it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't really like Spurs sitting back. It was Spurs 3 or 4 passes, 1, 2, 3, beating the press, and then we're on. And we did it last season, to be fair, to a smaller degree. When we played teams like Bournemouth at their ground, there was times we were baiting the press. There was times where we were like in the midfield and we were trying to allow teams to come onto us. And even against Crystal Palace, I remember last season, there was times when Romero and Van de Ven are aimlessly just passing between each other, trying to draw out 3 of their forwards to create gaps in their midfield and then hit them, as opposed to Spurs are playing low block football and then we hit counter-attack. There's a bit more to it than that, if that makes sense.
Oh, I get that. But that was much more counter-attacking football than it was normal what Ange does.
No, but this is what I'm saying.
That's what I've been trying to say.
You're missing the point then, if you think.
What we're trying to say is, basically, if Spurs doesn't score first, all the games that Spurs have lost, other than Brighton, I think Brighton was, went in 2-0 up, but then Spurs did drop a little bit deeper. And that was actually what caused that, avalanche for Brighton, because they pushed up higher and Spurs dropped deeper. So basically, it's like Ange's about counter-attacking football, and the way he sets up with the 2 inverted fullbacks is so the attackers can get forward, but if there's a counter-attack, those 2 inverted fullbacks are there to stop it. And so, like, it's kind of what Ange plays is not just gung-ho. Like, there's so many pundits are now starting to realize that if you don't like managers have said, fans will say it's gung ho, but it's actually not. Even the players have said it's not gung ho. We each have our positions. We all each know what to do, and it's the players' responsibilities to then do those things. It takes a high amount of energy. So all it takes in that team, say one player fatigues quickly and he can't cover as quickly, that breaks down everything. If you go back and watch the match against Ipswich and things like that, Spurs were deep, and it was Ipswich pressing Spurs, the back line. Then once Ipswich got the goal, they chopped deep. So then Spurs had to go and try to get the goal.
Warren,
And they
wouldn't you
pushed up.
think it's fair to say that we're not a counter-attacking team? I'd say we're a counter-press team. Whereas, like you said, we have a lot of players push forward that when we catch it, so when we do lose the ball in the final third, we can catch them back in the transition when they try to counter.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, because counter-attack would be Conte, where we're sitting in deep, we're catching teams load, and then we're going forward. But yeah, I do agree with what you're saying. That is the Ange system. I feel like ideally we want to play that way, but the problem is every game at home, like we've seen, we're like 12 games in a row where we go 1-0 behind. So we're forced to attack these teams. And the one problem that we've known with Spurs for 3 years or longer now is we can't break down low blocks. We've been trying to, bring players into adapt to that issue, but ultimately we've still got the same players in the same positions right now. So tackling low blocks, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, we had nothing for them. We didn't create chances, and that's where our biggest issue lies, and that's what Ange needs to solve.
You see, the thing I'm going to disagree with you with is Brighton. I think you got that totally wrong. Brighton 2-0 up. We came out and we were laughing, yeah? We came out of that complacent, and we played exactly the same way that we did in the first half. High press. We was on them. Yeah, lo and behold, they catch us. Okay, you can say that nothing's been caught the same way as last season, straight over the top, and it's all been done by players making mistakes. Yeah, because they got so much pressure on them to do their shit where they are. And they've got so much space around them that one move, they're in trouble. It makes you make mistakes. Whereas when you are actually played in your main position that you know how to do, and you've actually got a steady line next to you, you haven't got the same sort of pressure on you to make the same mistakes. I remember playing football myself. I mean, if you want to call this counter-pressing, whatever, but to me, it's a counter-attacking style of football, whatever way you want to do it. And when we went up against Brighton, we went out and we basically went for that third goal. I still think we came out too complacent. Players just as bad, yeah? And where we pressed on it, they caught us on a good counter. Bang, there it goes, 2-1. Nothing changes. We we go for the first. 2-2. Next thing you know, bang, again. Ange still standing there, does nothing. This is where my man needs to get his consistency right. They ended up pushing us back. But at 2-1, we were still pressing them. 2-2, we were still pressing them. We should have come out in that second half against Brighton and thought, yeah, do you know what? We got this. Let's set back a little bit. Come back 10 yards, boys. And take a bit of the game. Wait, because you're going to get a chance because they got to come at you. No, we didn't. We went for the kill and it killed us.
Anyone want to answer that? Or
maybe I just see a game different. We all see football through two different eyes.
One thing I wanted to ask real quick is basically what Dan just touched on. Like, if the system requires you to always be perfect, then is it a good system? And this is just me. This is not me saying like trying to criticize Ange. This is me just asking the question because I've heard like Oren. I know you put a lot of blame on the players, and to be fair, the players do make mistakes. But the thing about great managers is that if a player makes a mistake, it's not necessarily the end all be all because they have a system in which you can cover for that person. And it sounds like sometimes if the defenders make a mistake, that leads to a goal, and then you're a goal down, etc., etc. And we know how it happens. So sometimes if a defender makes a mistake and it causes a goal, whereas in another system, if a defender makes a mistake, you have an opportunity to counteract it and it doesn't necessarily result in anything crazy. That might put extra pressure on the players because they know I've got to be perfect all the time, or we might concede because of how Ange wants us to play. So if they have to always be perfect, does that mean the system is flawed? It's a bad system? Or is it just down to maybe player profile? Like George said, we don't have the right players to always play it. That's just a question I want to pose.
Yeah, they don't have to be perfect.
That's a brilliant point. But
no one is saying
can't play it to that point. He wants them to be literally perfect.
No, he doesn't. He's already said that players can make mistakes. It's about how they react. But so basically, like now we're saying players can't be perfect and they can make mistakes. But yet, when Emerson Real was playing and he made mistakes, he needed to get the fuck out of the club.
Yeah, when he keeps making the same mistakes over and over
Exactly.
again,
So basically,
that's a bit different
it's
to
a
making a
pressure.
mistake here and
So
there.
basically, if a player comes to Spurs and they're playing under that pressure, they're going to be the same as, every club has the players play under pressure. It's up to the player to adapt to that pressure. If I have a job and I can't handle my job's pressure, I don't go to the boss and say, "Can you change how you set the rules of this job, please, so I can feel less stress?" No,
Okay.
they're getting paid money, and the goals that has been mistake, like Udogie and everything. Yes, he's young, but Ange has said they're young, they will make mistakes. But it's the same. But when Spurs players make mistakes or when Spurs lose, fans are quick to criticize Ange. You know what I mean? They're saying it's Ange's fault. He doesn't understand. He's out of his depth,
Okay.
his system. But yet now we're saying, oh, he plays a perfect system, so the players can play. So which
He
one is
won't.
it? That's the question I ask.
Right.
Like, which one is it?
Okay. I'll revert that question for you then. Do you play poker?
No, not really. No.
I don't know. It's just a straight question, yeah?
No.
Because you might understand more what I'm going to say if you do, yeah? Right. When you play poker, you can play poker with tactics. You're playing with cards. There is tactics to poker, or you can just bluff it, yeah?
Yeah.
But there's a difference. You want to be good at poker, you got to play with the cards you got. Now, I think Ange's biggest problem is he sat there for 18 months saying, you boys are going to play my way come love nor money. And it's blatantly not worked. Simple as. And it still hasn't worked this season.
It has worked. I mean, for the first 10 games of last season.
Yeah, great.
It was
First 10 games of last
injury.
season. Yeah, brilliant. And then the rest of the season just went like downhill. There was
yes,
no
but that wasn't because it was because
so what
of injuries.
I'm saying is,
it was injuries.
So, yeah, and then when we had our full team was when we went downhill. We done better without our full team, did we not?
No, because Spurs never had their full team the entire season.
Yeah, we did.
There was always there was always players injured, always players out.
We had our first 11 after the 10 games, and we done worse after the 10 games. What I'm trying to tell you is, is you can only get things so much to work your way. And what I've always seen a very good manager do over time is when he can't get it quite his way, he then plays with the cards he's got. When you can blatantly see that you got two wing backs that they just ain't safe at inverting, they are much better at playing wing back. And when you've got centre backs who are much better at defending than sitting on the halfway line, and when you've got other box to box midfielders and you know they can't really defend, Basuma is no DM. He never was. He's covered it, but he never was. He was always box to box, go forward. Yeah, you got to adapt to what you got. But he hasn't seemed to do that until a couple of games this season. But then it seems to go back to his way totally. If you want to get the best out of the players, like it or lump it, you got to meet them halfway at times. It can't just be my way or the highway, because then what happens? You go downhill like Spurs have done, and then you end up getting win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. No consistency whatsoever. You have to adapt to the cards you've got. Where you want to keep playing poker your way and that, and keep bluffing it all the way, you're going to lose a lot of money. And that is what Spurs have done. No consistency since them first 10 games. We have got, out of those 11 players on those pitch, we have got one player different. One. And that is Solanke. Are you telling me this manager cannot get these players in 18 months to work his way of football? And then if he can't work it out, that they just cannot hack it his way, that maybe he's got to tweak a bit to their way. I mean, come on, you've got to go halfway if you're a good manager.
But you have to, yes, you have you go halfway. But like, if you look at the losses that's happened to Spurs, like the way I look at football, I don't look at, like when I support Spurs, I support Spurs. But when every match I watch as a fan of football. I don't sit there and go, we need to do this, and I've been very vocal of this. I'm a fan of football, so I watch what the other team does. And that plays a big part into everything. Every single team. It's two teams on the pitch, and they're both trying to get a win. One team will do something to stop the other team and vice versa. When Spurs lose, it's because they've conceded first, and it's because teams have sat back and they've struggled. Even Arsenal, the mighty, upholding, title-winning future Arsenal, they sat back. They came to Spurs and sat back.
They dominated us.
They didn't dominate. They sat back. They sat back.
No, they didn't. They knew we would go into them, and they just sat back.
Yes, but they sat back.
And
they got it. No, they didn't. How did they get it? Was it a counter-attack? No, it was a corner. Arsenal beat Spurs by corner. But it's a set piece. The same set piece they scored against Man City. So if Arsenal are coming to Spurs and sitting deep and playing deep, because they can't match Spurs.
Totally changed their way of play.
Yes, exactly. But what I'm trying to say is, like, What are
That's
Spurs? Because
adaptive.
they know if they go up against Spurs how Spurs are meant to play, they'll get wiped off the park. Same as Man
Exactly.
City.
So they changed their tactics,
Right.
went to
Yes. So
their
Arsenal
way,
changed their
and
tactics. Now, so what you're saying is
we
you
played
would.
into their hands.
So Ange has already said he's not gonna be a defensive. He doesn't do that. He's never
Well,
done
at
it.
times you need to be then. If you're in the
When
last
you
10
get the
minutes,
first goal,
okay, not necessarily. When
But
you
you
can
ha-
see that a team is going to pummel you, you've got to adapt game by game.
but the
Sometimes
teams,
you are just better off to counter it because you know you can do
but
it
there's very
faster than
few. But
that
if
team.
Spurs play how they play, there's very few teams that can stop them
But if you just
unless
play
they
one
drop
way,
back,
you get
unless they
sussed
drop deep.
out easy like
But
last
that's what I'm
season.
trying to say. You see it as one way. Angie doesn't play one way. He doesn't play one way. It's
Cool.
the Angie system is pass and move, and work things out on the pitch because he's not on the pitch.
Guys, I'm gonna quickly. This is beautiful, by the way. I'm really enjoying it. But
Well, with
I'm
that,
gonna quickly just go through the game because
here,
it's over now.
sorry, I actually have to go on this point.
I had a feeling. That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
Can I play it? I know.
I gotta
Obviously,
get up
actually,
early.
I'll go now. I'm gonna go now.
Yeah, but
Cool.
big up everyone, and yeah, I'll talk to
Big
you
up,
again.
Oren. Big up,
All right,
Oren.
see you later. Bye bye.
I'm gonna have to
Take
do
care.
your job, Oren, now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Bye.
Cool, man. Bless up. All right, cool. Just gonna quickly go through Spurs City, little what happened. But yeah, basically that was the lineup. I'll go through it real quick because there was a change. Vicario, Pedro Porro, Dragusin, and Ben Davies came in. Dragusin came in for Romero, who was out injured. Doggy and Saar started with Basuma coming in for Bentancur. That was a change. Those changes were forced through injury. But the change really was Madison coming in. Many people didn't see that coming. And Kulusevski starting over Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side with Son Heung-min staying on the left, being the captain, and Solanke starting up front. With Man City, nobody cares. Let's just move forward. They set up in a similar way to we did. Some people say a 4-3-3. Some people say a 4-2-3-1. That was the metrics for the game momentum. And as you can see, the first 15 to 20 minutes, they had it and we scored against the run of play. Then we had a period of domination. And then the first half was pretty 50-50 after that. Then in the second half, we scored again quite early. And then after that, we forced City to try to bring it back. But, as you can see by the end of the bar, we end up scoring. But anyway, we move. Quickly go through some of the stats. XG, we had a more on that side. Obviously, big saves. We had big chances. Sorry, we had more big chances. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go through all the stats. Just for the metrics, you can see, obviously, on the right-hand side is where Spurs are. Our most advanced player was Kulusevski. And from Porro, it was more direct, as you can see, that line being straight down the flank. And the other passing metrics, you can see we tend to build from that left-hand side. As you can see, Son number 7, a Doggy number 13, even Solanke pushing over to the left to create, I believe, a pyramid at times with James Maddison. And even Basuma, number 8, he was clustered over onto that left-hand side. So we choose to push the ball into Ben Davies, and Ben Davies had the option of either Maddison or Basuma from those passing metrics. Onto the next phase, you can see Bernardo Silva had a lot of the progression stats in terms of passing and carrying. The reason that is because Bernardo Silva, from what I could see tactically, he opted as their left back to progress the ball when Vardiol turned into a winger or sometimes inverted into the half space. So you can see there are some similarities between what we did with James Maddison, sometimes playing in a double pivot and sometimes playing a left back, sometimes playing a left mid. He was our ball progressor, and a Doggy sometimes went into the half space on that left hand side, and then sometimes he was the one that kind of did the overlap. Those are the XG. Won't go for the XG. I know people hate it. But the first thing I'm going to circle is Spurs pressing from the offset. So from the offset, as per usual, Spurs pressing in numbers, trying to win the ball.
Look at Ben Davies and Jackson on the highway. Oh Lord, look at them on the halfway line. This is nasty.
Daisy? Oh, you weren't meant to see that.
This is nasty,
was a
bro.
narrative. What are you
Nasty.
doing here? Anyway, we move. So basically, with that being said, what happens? The ball goes into Foden, and Foden's technical ability, he actually breaks that press. So that press breaks down, and then the next press is initiated by Bissouma and Sarr. And then you're also seeing Kulizeski drop into a free, trying to help with that press, come over on that side. But what happens is Foden picks his head up and he's able to play a pass in between those lines. And he picks out Savio, I believe, making that run from out to in into that midfield, into that winger stage. And then you're seeing on the right hand side, you're seeing Haaland on the right hand side, as opposed to being a number 9 being central. So they're switching the plays, going over. As that happens, I've circled off the 3-2 formation, what we're defending in. Able to, whoops, what have I done there? What have I done? Whoops a daisy. Yeah, they're able to break through that. It goes onto the left hand side. As it goes through the left, Savio picks the ball up. He finds Haaland on that right hand half space with acres of space. Ben Davies has to cycle back. He manages to get onside, and then that's where he gets his foot out and he's able to block the ball and stop Haaland from getting a shot on target. The next phase of plays are going to bring up was again Spurs pressing high up. So Spurs pressing, doing what we do normally, trying to win that ball high up. And as they've tried to win that ball high up, I've squared off this area because we've committed 3 bodies in Basuma and Sarr and Udogie. Sarr and Udogie have committed themselves, trying to add themselves to the press. And the reason why I'm saying that's because we're defending from higher up. On this particular occasion, it's the second line of the counter press that works when we do win the ball back. And because we win the ball so high and so close to their goal mouth or near to their box, we're able to create a chance off the back of it where Son picks the ball up in that area where he is quite advanced. He gets his head up and he fires the ball across the box. Unfortunately, the ball he puts in doesn't have enough quality on the ball to find Kulizeski making that late run into the box. If Kulizeski had a bit more pace or he started to run a little bit earlier, he may have gotten the end of that. He might have been able to have that chance. In this bit, I'm saying this is City's next phase, a next attack. When they get the ball, they're trying to go for the game. Dragusin is being forced across to his right-hand side alongside with Porro. Now, the reason that is because with City, they're playing with 2 at the back. You're seeing Stones and you're seeing Akanji play a 2 with Silva being a left back at times. He's creating an overload, sometimes dropping in the midfield, sometimes dropping on the left-hand side. And he's double teamed up with Savio. Savio, you can see, and Foden being a midfielder central. So you can see Foden on the edge of the screen right there. And because of that overload, they're able to play and outnumber our players in that particular area. So when the ball does eventually get into Savio, Savio's able to sell Dragusin a dummy and he pulls him out of that position. He beats him, beats that line there, and that's when they're in on goal. There you can see Haaland in space, in between the fullback and the centre-back, and Ben Davies and Udogie, and that's when he takes his first touch. This time he does get his shot off, and Vicario's forced to make a save, using his feet, does well, and it goes off for a corner, and that chance goes begging for City. Here we are in that shape where we are building out from the back, where Spurs do have the ball, and what happens is Ben Davies, first the ball goes in to Maddison. Maddison gives it to Ben Davies. Then Ben Davies plays it out wide to Dragusin. Dragusin gets his head up and he plays a diagonal across into Kulizeski. Kulizeski's able to win the 50-50. He has no right to win the ball, but he outmuscles Gvardiol, beats him for strength and pace, outmuscles him, uses his shape. And then what he does here, you see Maddison. Maddison gets on his bike from early. And you can see that Gundogan. Gundogan's pointing to him saying, look, I need help. I haven't got enough legs. Can you please pick him up? Rico Lewis is out of the position as well. He's out of the picture. And also Kyle Walker, number 2, you can see he's coming back from that position. He's pulled out wide, a bit like Vardy out wide, out of position. And he's left Stones all by himself. So Maddison on the move, straight away on the move. What you're seeing there is Kulizeski made his mind up because Maddison's made that run. That ball's gone over the top, and I call it a Dele-esque kind of run where you remember when Dele Alli used to run late into the box, arrive into the position, And by no means is this an easy finish. It's a top finish, I think, from Maddison on the volley with his side foot, finesse controlled into the bottom corner, and we end up 1-0 on his birthday. We end up celebrating. Here, I've circled Maddison dropping into a left back role, but making a free, making a triangle. So these are the patterns of play that we're doing when we're trying to build out the back, when we're trying to break through, especially like here. City aren't pressing; they're in a kind of mid block. It's a different type of a different part of the game. But in this part where Madison's playing as the left back and the doggy's playing high up, the reason why he's doing that is because Maddison technically can look after the ball a lot better than the doggy can in that particular position. The doggy's strengths, I feel, are higher up the pitch. So when the doggy gets on that run, he's making those stronger runs. You don't really want him having that ball in that defensive third. You want him more in the midfield third or the attacking third. And that's why Maddison's been brought on to give us some control in the build-up. And that's when you're seeing Maddison getting the ball. As he gets on the ball, he's got a chance to play it to Sarr, but instead he does a little bounce ball, wall pass, gets back to him, and you're seeing Dominic Solanke drop in the hole. Everyone's like, why is Dominic Solanke jumping in the hole for? Blah, blah, blah. The reason being is he's acting as an extra midfielder to overload and give Spurs superiority. So when the ball does break to Dominic Solanke, he gets in the ball, he gets on a half turn, he passes. As that ball's passed back out to Son, you're now seeing a doggy in a position where he's more comfortable, where he's more aggressive. He's making a run where you normally see Son. So they've interchanged positions. He's making that run. He's pulling that player away. What that does, he opens up space. Because he makes that run, he opens up space for Son. Son's able to drive into the midfield because of that, because of the doggy's run. And as he runs into that space, he tries to play a ball into Kulusevski. Now, Kulusevski swapped over with Dominic Solanke. So now I'm talking about fluidity, where players can interchange, understand each other's role, and they can effectively take over and play in that position. That ball, unfortunately, breaks down. It doesn't quite happen. It doesn't come off this time. But what happens there is we win the ball back up. We win the ball high back up. Son's in a good position. It goes back to Son. Son picks the ball up. He picks his head up, and he's able to get his head up and do one of those curling shots that we used to see him do outside the box. As he does that curling shot, Edison's able to get over, and he's able to make that top save from that top corner. But these are different phases of play. This is different build-up where we're starting to open up City. Here again, we're defending high up. We're not defending from deep. We're defending high up. We're counter-pressing, and we force an error from City. So that ball comes in as a result of Akanji being on the ball. He tries to play it into Silva. Silva plays it to Vardiol. Vardiol makes a mistake because we committed so many bodies through. When he plays that blind pass, it's because we pressed him. That blind pass comes into no other than James Maddison. Maddison has quick speed of thought. This is what people don't give Maddison the credit for. His speed of thought. That's what gets him into this position. He passes it into Son. Son gets that ball, and Son has enough intelligence about him that he's able to pause and slow it down. Well, what Maddison does well, he doesn't just stay there. He carries on the move. He doesn't stay there. He carries on the move, and that's very important. We spoke about earlier, sometimes where Spurs are trying to break low blocks down, a lot of the players are static, not Maddison in this occasion. He keeps that move on. He keeps the move alive. And Son makes a lovely around the corner pass into the space. As you see in here, Maddison arrives into that area, first time, opens his body up. Ellison tries to make himself big, but again, Maddison has the speed of thought and he has the composure to execute that ball, that finish over the top. And he's done that type of finish before. He's done it against, I think it was Everton or Brentford. I can't remember. But we did that finish when he was at home. And it's 2-0 to Spurs and it's great play. Here again, I've circled Maddison. Brentford. In that particular area. Brentford, sorry. So in that particular area, you see Maddison here in that left back kind of role. Even though it's not even a left back role. He's actually, sometimes we'll see our centre back split. And the reason why they split is to help with our ball progression and to help to push the left back out. But Maddison's taken upon himself to split wide, and he was in a centre back role before, but to help with the ball progression, he split wide, and as a point, he's dragged 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can see 5 City players in that section of Spurs' pitch. And because he's pulled wide and he's pulled off into this section, 1-2 pass, into Basuma, 2-touch, nothing long. We're able to actually play it out from the back, and we beat City's press. As we beat City's press, ball goes into Sarr. Sarr with the engine, quick play into play, goes out wide to Kulusevski. Kulusevski holds onto the ball, but Kulusevski drives down the pitch. As he drives down the pitch, he enters the box. He doesn't just drive to the byline. He enters the box. I'm asking here, could Kulusevski find Porro? Porro is inverted here. I think Porro is in a good position. I know we want Porro to overlap all the time, but sometimes when you mix up your game, you create unpredictability. You're creating situations that are not familiar, so teams can't really set themselves. So when you're seeing Porro in his position, I think if he passes it into him, then that could be a pass into, I don't know, maybe a Son, maybe a Solanke. They've got both of their centre backs pinned, or fullback pinned, and Walker there. The ball doesn't go out to him. What Kulu decides to do, he decides to go to the byline. He drags it down to the byline, and two of them, because they're in the recognizing now Kulu's a danger man, they're jumping on him. And that move's killed, and it goes off for a corner because they block it out in that particular incident. So here, City are now searching for a goal. They're committing more bodies forward because they need to get back in the game. It's desperate. They're at home. Their fans are booing them. All of a sudden, again, you're seeing Ben Davies. He knows the pattern of play. He sees Maddison as a left midfielder now. He's split wide as a left back. That pass is easy. He's gone down the channel. He's got into Maddison. Maddison gets his head up. Ahead of him, he's got Son. Inside of him, he's got Solanke. He's got Kulu. He's got options. What he does is he pauses on it. As he pauses on the ball, you're seeing Son drift into that midfield space. He's not married to that left-hand space. He understands where the space is. That's what you have to do. You have to have game intelligence, game IQ. So as Son is drifting into that space, he actually passes it into him. As he passes it into him, you're seeing Kulu and Solanke act as two auxiliary forwards. Kulu is not married to the right-hand side. What that's doing is pinning the two centre backs. He's pinning Stones and he's pinning Akanji. What do I mean by pinning? It means that he actually has their centre back. Their centre back can't move. So what Son does really well here, he gets into the space, and as he's into the space, he pauses on it. And now you're seeing Porro enter the frame. As Porro's entering the frame, he's entering the box. Me and Marlon said it in the studio, that's the pass he should make. That's the pass there, because no one's picking him up. He's doing a run from out to in. So he's not hugging the touchline. He's running from out to in. If Son passes into Porro, he's got two options. He can either strike the ball like he did in that second half and score a goal, or he can play a ball across the box into Solanke, or he can do a cutback into Kulusevski, who's the second forward there in that position. What happens is Son plays the harder ball. He does a reverse pass into Solanke. Solanke gets the ball out of his feet. Now, this is where we could critique Solanke, because Solanke, for me, needs to be a bit more clinical. He shoots, it goes over the bar, not over the bar, but the keeper gets a hand to it. We need Solanke to find the corners in those positions, in my opinion. But I think with time, Solanke will pick that up and he will start to be better in those positions. Anyway, Kulu picks up the ball from deep. This is the second half now. Brennan Johnson's arrived. Kulu picks up the ball from deep and he goes on those runs. And again, Kulu's not married to the right-hand side. In fact, he's on the left-hand side. He's actually floating because Brennan Johnson's come on. So now he's able to be in the midfield. He's able to float. And as he does it, he nutmegs Gundogan. He drives the ball, pokes it around him. He does a little 1-2 with Son, and he commits about 2 or 3 players with him. As he plays out, he carries his run on. As he's carrying his run on, he drives that ball up the pitch. As he drives the ball up the pitch in that space, he slows it down, but he creates separation between himself and the marker. He plays the ball across the pitch. The ball's a little bit heavy for Dom Solanke, but he manages to retrieve it. As Dom Solanke, he gets that ball in the box, and what he does a cutback. He cuts back into Porro. Porro just smashes it into the top corner, and it's 3-0 Spurs, game match set and done. So here I've put City lose the ball high up the pitch, and the reason is Spurs here, we win the ball back, we're aggressive in our pressing again. We win the ball in the defensive third. And then you're seeing a strong running from Dom Solanke. A lot of people criticizing Solanke because he's saying he doesn't do anything. If he's not scoring goals, what is he doing? He's helping with our transitions. I think the difference between him and Richarlison would get the ball and sometimes he would fall over if a player would touch him. If he felt contact, he would fall over and that would stop our progression up the pitch. What Solanke does, he helps us progress up the pitch. He brings other players into the game, a bit like Solanke. Do you know? Sorry, a bit like Kulu does. So as he's driving up the pitch, they're trying to foul him. They're trying to bring him down. But what he does well, he stays on his feet, goes into the middle third. And I'm saying here again, I'm circling out Johnson. Johnson's on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand side. He's actually interchange again. Can Solanke get his head up and find Johnson? Because if he finds Johnson, for me, he's in the middle of the pitch. That's the better pass. Obviously, you've got Kulusevski on the right-hand side. What Solanke's done well is actually committed 2 centre-backs there. He's committed 2 centre-backs through his powerful run, and they're worried. They don't know what he's going to do. What he does, because it's on his right-hand side, his right-hand peripheral, I think, and he's right-footed, the easier pass for him is Kulusevski, and the more obvious pass is Kulusevski because that's what's in his sight. Do you know what I mean? But had he played the ball into Johnson, I think that's a 1v1 with Johnson. Johnson could potentially finish because he's not a bad finisher if he's 1v1. Anyway, the ball breaks out to Kulusevski. Kulusevski's in acres of space. As that ball breaks, he gets that ball into the box. He's still got a lot to do, but he's still in an advantage position. But Kulu hasn't got blistering pace. So what happens is, as that ball breaks into the box, you're seeing their centre-back make up the ground and close the angle down. But what Kulu does so well, he cuts back onto his stronger foot. The player's not expecting it. He gets that shot off. And I'm saying, look, could Kulu put it through his legs? Could Kulu do what Maddison do with the little delicate dink, what Maddison did in that area? Instead, he shoots, and the keeper, to be fair, gets a hand to it, does well. I'm not mad for Kulu for missing that chance, do you know what I mean? But I'm just being hypercritical because, this is what we do. This is what we're analysing. Kulu, again, finds himself in that kind of half space, this time on the left. This time you're seeing players in different possessions. Kulu uses his body well, and it's a mismatch with Foden. He uses his body to shield it. Foden can't get around him because there's too much physicality from Kulusevski. What Kulusevski does well, he's on the half turn. He's able to turn his man on the half turn, and he's lost his marker now. And now he's got acres of space. Now he looks at Johnson. Johnson being the second forward, the inside forward, as a lot of people were saying in the comments. He's like, look, find me, feed me. I'm right here. The ball comes into Johnson. Johnson picks that ball up. He actually gets his shot off, and the width of the post stops that goal from going in, because it could have been real embarrassing if that ball goes in. It hits the post, and anyway, we move. This is another example when Spurs are defending. We're not defending in a low block. We're defending in the middle third here. Sometimes a counter press. So in this counter press again, you're seeing Grealish on the ball. Grealish is really good. He's a good technical player. But because so many players have squared it off, you've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players around him. What you're seeing now is Bergvall jump. Bergvall jumps. As he jumps to commit him, what Grealish has to do, Grealish has to switch the play. He's forcing them. He said, look, there's no passes around me. I've got to literally switch the play. So we've actually forced the error here. As he switched the play, outside of the square, there's another defensive line, and it's Werner. Werner is looking for any switches that happen. Guess what happens? He plays that square pass around. I've circled Werner. Werner anticipates that ball going out wide, because this is a defensive part of what Spurs do. This is coaching now. And the reason why I say that is because this is what Barcelona do. And I'm not saying we're Barcelona. I'm not saying we're City, but it's possession, attacking front-footed football. But it's the City or the Barcelona style. That's how they defend. It's just 3 defensive phases of play. And I'll go for it one day. But anyway, Werner finds that ball out wide. He intercepts that ball that would have gone to him, and he starts driving. Obviously, he does a foot race with Kyle Walker, puts the afterburners on. You know what happens next. Goes down the line. He just smashes that ball across the box. And Johnson knows where that ball's going to end up. He anticipates it. And we've seen players not being on the end of things. So people will be like, oh, Johnson's a tapping merchant. But you have to be in that position. You have to be in the back stick. He's there. And we end up scoring a goal. It's 4-0. Good night. And that's the end. Done. Over. Finished. Over to you, Marlon.
Jeez. Great analysis, man. Jeez. Nah, no, he might have paraded, bro. Crazy. Oh, you must started dancing and
My boy
that.
Pocacci, you get me? My boy Pocacci, you have to bring
Bro,
it back.
you were roboting but moving. Like, you're supposed to not move when you do the robot.
Oh my god,
Oh, did I remix? Man, did I remix,
runs.
bro?
Just keep beats. His man on the
Yeah,
right hand side.
Bobo
Beats
led.
Cole Walker shows his
Don't you
age.
just wish that Timo could
Yeah,
do
across the
something
bar.
on a regular basis? Because I've said this
Oh,
man,
100%.
he is a terrible player, but he's brilliant at getting himself into places. He's not bad on the ball. He's good on his feet. I think he's twice the player that Johnson is on taking his man on. But
He just
9
can't
times out of
shoot.
10, he can't shoot, he can't pass, he can't cross, he can't do nothing. But he got it
And he
right
has
there.
no physicality, so it's a long day.
No, Johnson, I still don't rate as a player in any means or manner, but he gets into the right place to tap it in the back of the net. At the end of the day, it goes in the back of the net. You can't complain.
Yeah, it is what it is. I guess what you're gonna do the Son draw now, or am I free to ask a question?
No, you're free to ask questions, but yeah, I'm going to say to everyone in the comments, yeah, if you want to be entered, as Eugene's put there, please put hashtag SPKTV. You've got 3 to 4 minutes to enter for the Sun draw. The Sun shirt is here, right, ready for anyone in the chat that wants to enter, and we'll make the draw soon. But you, Elijah, go ahead. We'll carry on.
All right. So basically, I broke this down on my stream,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that I waited until after Ash broke down the game because he basically broke it down, so I don't have to explain it like too much. But in terms of us, in terms of the last month, innit, I know it's a quote unquote Spursy month because of the teams we've beat, the teams we've lost to. But I was under the impression that it wasn't that Spursy just because of the type of teams we're playing and how they want to play. Because the big teams, or the quote unquote big teams that we played this month, Man City and Aston Villa, and to be fair, Galatasaray, but they're going to play their style of football regardless because they have that, I guess, sort of arrogance as a quote unquote bigger team. Teams like Ipswich or Crystal Palace, teams that are trying to fight to stay up, they're willing to adapt anyway, so they'll play the low block. But what I really wanted to ask was, do you guys think this is why Brendan Johnson gets as much time as he does? Because Ash broke down how Solanke would drop back and help with the midfield because Maddison would drop back and help with Sam Basuma and sometimes cover at left back. So Maddison's dropping from the 10 back and then Solanke's dropping from the 9 back to where the 10 is basically. So when Son wants to whip the ball in, usually a Brendan Johnson would be on the end, but because Kulusevski's another playmaker, he's just whipping the ball in. And I know Ash pointed out one time where Son whipped in the ball, but there was 2 in that half where he whips in the ball, and both times Kulusevski is either not there or he's too slow to get there. So do you guys think that's why Brendan Johnson gets more time on that right-hand side? Because Solanke's dropping back a lot of the time, especially when we play low blocks. When Solanke's dropping back and now he has to push forward, he's not just going against 2 centre-backs, he's going against someone else there as well because it's a low block.
So this basically goes back into that beginning question when I say, do you play your strongest team or do you change depending on the opposition? Because now you're looking at different, and like there's no right or wrong, by the way. I don't know the answer, but it's for Ange to figure out. And so maybe the reason why he made that change, like I said at the start, was because he looked at City and he's like, actually, I need some control here. I need some defensive solidity, some cover there, like what Dan was saying. And maybe he thought what I'll do is in the second half, if the game's tight or we're not quite getting a result, I'm going to bring on Werner and Johnson as a what do you call it? A game, attack of play, like a method, a strategy,
Impact sub,
impact sub. So he can stretch them. So he can bring on Werner and Johnson. They like to run in behind. If City are on top of us, do you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden you bring your Werners on, you bring on your Johnson, and that goal happens where we didn't quite get that in that first half because Kulu, again, like we said, he's not always going to be on the back stick because, and that's why I said I give credit to Johnson because everyone assumes, oh, it's an easy tap in, but as I showed in the presentation, Kulu wasn't there, or when he was trying to get there, he didn't have the blistering pace to get on the end of it. So it's like it's horses for court. Basically, it depends on the game state. It depends on the team we're playing. It depends on, so there's different facets, and this is what Ange is now learning, and he's learning about his players as he's going into the season. Some people aren't happy because he should have figured it out a long time ago. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
think so.
sometimes people would say, "Oh, look how quickly Arnie Slot has figured it out." Do you know what I mean? I would
Yeah.
argue that maybe Arnie Slot hasn't been tested yet. We're still early in the season. Let's maybe have that conversation after January when we've had that busy schedule. Or you can say, well, Emery, look how quickly Emery did it. All right, look at Emery now. It's up and down, forms up and down. There's loads of things that you can throw at it to add a bit of nuance to say every manager is different. Should we really be comparing Ange to Emery or Slot? They're more elite managers, in my opinion, than him. So
Yeah,
maybe,
true.
and then also, should we be comparing Postecoglou to Pochettino? In my opinion, we shouldn't. I don't think so. I think Pochettino, I think it's too harsh to compare the two and the squads as well. I think the squad's different. I think they've got different skill sets. They've got different profiles that we spoke about already. So why would we compare the two? It's like having an ex. Why would you have a new girlfriend and then be like, oh, but my ex used to do this. Oh, my ex did this better. Do you know what I mean?
They get you killed.
Yeah, you get in trouble. Man, you say that to your missus, brother.
I say that to my
Hey,
wife
nah,
when
look
I'm
at you.
dead man
He's been
walking.
doing
Bruv,
that.
you won't be on stream for very long, I'll tell you that. So
Exactly. No, look, with what you're saying, Ash, yeah, you got some solid points, man. And I'm an open-minded man. I'm willing to take things in, yeah. But I don't relate him to Pochettino. I more compare him to Conte and Mourinho for reasons. Total different styles of football. And I still think our style of football just looks so much better on a counter-attack, counter-press, whatever way you put it. Look at me as an older person. I don't look on as I say a DM is a DM, and I know there's loads of different ways to play it. But when I mean a DM, I don't give it the 68s, the double pivots and all this crap, yeah? I see it on a different side. And there is no way you can say that this man has not had a 10 times better team, bar one player, basically, than Conte or Mourinho. He's had a much better team than the pair of them. He's managed to pick this team out of what he wants. And he has still struggled over 18 months, or still struggling, should I say, over 18 months to work out how to play these players to get the best of their ability. It took 9 months for me to lose faith in this man. And one of the things that definitely done it was when he complained about, we are not clinical enough up front, we need strikers, we need finishers, and he goes and re-signs Timo Werner. But then Marlon put on a very fair point the other day of, to me, it was more of an Ange signing, not a Levy signing, something Levy wouldn't do. But then Marlon, you made some fair points in it that I can't debate. They were solid points.
Yeah.
It does look like it's got a bit of Levy on it as well. But I still don't believe Ange said no to it quite. I believe Ange was happy with it, but you made some solid points. It's got a bit more Levy over it than I realised. So fair play on that one. I'll stand back and put my hands up when I think I'm wrong. I just feel this man needs to show he can adapt consistently more, because we have been so up and down bar those first 10 games last season. It is unbelievable. And like I say, people say, why'd you keep referring it? Well, I can only refer Ange to the Scottish Premier League because that's the highest thing he ever done. And this is a much bigger league. It is more ruthless. It is dog eat dog, like it or lump it. And you don't get that much time. And with the way he's really done it at Spurs, if he'd have done this at a smaller club, they could have been fighting relegation if he's that stubborn that he does not want to change his ways. This is where he has to be careful and be willing to
Look at
adapt.
Company of Burnley, man. They went straight to the Championship trying to play it out the back.
You see what I'm saying? You've got to adapt to what you got. This is why I relate it as poker. You can only play with the cards you got. And if it ain't working, you got to make it work. That is his job as a manager. Okay, it's his job to make players understand him. But he's also got to understand the players. If I'm trying to sell something to you, it's my job to make you want to buy it. It's my job to make you understand it and buy it. If it's not working, I've got to do it a different way so you understand it and buy it. I just feel this man is too stubborn for his own good. Maybe he's learning, but in due time.
Well, I would say that, I don't know, like the stubborn issue.
Fulham and that can tell, can't it? Because how many times does it look like we sit there and think, yeah, Ange's getting the hang, and then bang, Palace.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing well. Yeah, bang, Ipswich. How many times did we do it last season? Lose 4 games on the trot, nearly 5 on the trot, twice.
So I mean, look,
no consistency since the first 10 games. None.
Like, I hear you, bro, and I'm here to throw the caveat out. Oren's not here, so someone's got to do it. Otherwise, we don't got a show. We'll all be agreeing. So you get what I'm saying, Dan. I don't want to say I'm agreeing with you, but all right. Basically, if you keep changing your team lineup depending on who you're playing, sometimes it might bring across inconsistent form. Am I making sense? Because you might get that adaptation wrong at times, and that could lead to inconsistency, as opposed to playing your strongest team, and then getting results, because we want to go on a run. We want to go on a run of games where we can build consistency, because that's been our biggest problem. The problem is if you keep swapping out Kulusevski on the right and putting Johnson there and dropping Maddison, then that could lead to, again, a lack of defensive stability, a lack of ball control. Because so many times I've heard Spurs fans say we lack game management, meaning that there's times where we can't slow the ball down, or we don't know when to speed it up. So I think when you've got players like Kulusevski and Maddison, you give them the ball because, let's face it, they're the best players on the team. But not only that, they have intelligence. So their brain works a little bit quicker. So they can understand when to, get on the ball and turn. They know when to find space and drop a bit deep. If you notice, sometimes Maddison will be in one area and Kulu will be in the opposite area. Do you know what I mean? But they're not too far away from each other. Some of our players don't have that speed of thought, if that makes sense. So if you put a Johnson in that kind of area, is Johnson going to have the same speed of thought as a Kulu out on the right? Do you know what I'm saying? So you have pros and cons with everything that you say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
It's too simplistic to say, yes, all right, boom, let's, tweak and change this team. And then all of a sudden, because we tried it. Remember, Maddison got dropped because I felt he lacked physicality against Crystal Palace. He got dropped out. And then all of a sudden, we came against Galatasaray and Ipswich, and we had problems. And people were like, why are you dropping Maddison for? We need a creative 10. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but again, you look at the physicality issue with Maddison, and you're like, well, maybe Ange was right. And then maybe you give Ange some credit because now, like, no one's safe. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's how he sees himself building leaders, because you're saying, look, if you're going to be in my team, you need to be a leader. You need to stand up and you need to be scoring in all games. Do you know what I mean? And the same goes for Kulusevski even. Do you know what I mean? I know people love Kulusevski, but really he needed to be a leader against Ipswich, actually. And where was he? Against Crystal Palace. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So...
Let me give you a point with the leader thing, yeah? With the leader thing, I struggle with this with Ange, yeah? And this is one of the things that I struggle with him. I don't think Ange likes leaders. Ange don't like confrontation. You can see that. Ange wants to be the boss. That is his personality, how it looks to me. Ange don't want no man standing there saying, yeah, but Gaffer, if you do it if I do it this way, I think I'll be better. He wants to stand there and go, right, hook, line, sinker, that is how we do it. Shut your face. End of. That's how he comes across to me. I can only judge by what I see. And... he even blatantly said, I don't want leaders, I want to make leaders. Okay, but I go back to my point again. This is the Premier League. You don't get that time. You don't get that time in the Premiership. You need leaders on that pitch. And that is one thing I think we really
would
slack
you not
in.
say he's not making a leader out of Maddison by dropping him and then bringing him back in and trying to get the best out of his players?
No,
because,
no chance. Maddison is no leader. Not for me.
No, go on, carry on.
For me, again, it's personal opinion, all of this, yeah? For me, it's like Son, for me, I think is a terrible captain. He might be brilliant off the pitch, all kisses and cuddles, but on the pitch, he doesn't work for me as a captain. I go back to old school captain. I want my Roy Keane on there. I want my Vieira on there.
Do you know what?
I want my Getasu on there.
I've heard you say this before, but it depends how you view
football. One second. Because he's mentioned Son, right? Yeah. Because you've mentioned Son, let's give your shirt away, and then you can get into the debate.
Yeah, you've got a captain's armband to give away as well, bro.
Yeah, captain armband and all. Right, so I'm going to start it now. Right, the drawer is now closed. There are 23 people in it. Let me click start.
Good luck to
everyone. Let's find out who the winner is. Hopefully it's Beth Fee for you, Dan. Christmas present sorted.
Easiest show we've ever done in my life.
Who's got it? Please don't pick Spurs Kings TV. Please don't pick Spurs Kings TV.
Oh, well, look at this rigged. It's a rigged show, man. Look at this rigged show. Marlon's gonna be wearing that next stream.
No, I'll do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah. That's a shout, man.
I knew it because I typed it in before I should have been. Here we go.
Oh.
Hey!
Max Spurs.
Well done. Please
thought Moose was gonna
contact
win it, man.
us
Big up
at
Moose on that.
SpursKingsTV@outlook.com and we will be sending you the Sun shirt, the captain that Dan E doesn't think's the good captain, but that shirt is yours. Thank you very much. Ash, I'm going to go in a second, but carry on.
Yeah. All right, cool. So basically, it depends what you define as a leader. Depends what you define
Exactly.
as a captain.
It's opinion.
I would look at it like I'm from your era. I'm old school. I'm the man's. I like the man's man. Pause.
Yeah.
Where they're rugged, the old school. They want to slide in with their studs up. You know what I'm saying? Put an elbow, man. Shout out, man. What you doing? Be over there, not there. And give man a bollocking on the pitch. You know what I mean? Pull man up. But then I look at the era. I was also part of the era where David Beckham was our captain. And I remember when he pulled us through that England game against Greece. And actually, I'm like, wow, that's actually a leader on the pitch. Then I look at Gerrard and I'm thinking, wait a minute. When he scored that hat trick and he brought Liverpool back from AC Milan, I'm like, wait a minute, that's a different type of... I'm looking at Kane. Maybe some people might argue Kane. But you know what I'm trying to say? There's different types of leaders. Some people will talk on the pitch and some people lead by example. Now, I'm saying, look, is there an argument? Is there a case to say Maddison being one of our linchpins, being the person that wants the ball? He's always shown for the ball. He's always wanting the ball. He never shies away from it. He's that person that he actually, at the end of the game, he's talking to the press. He's saying some of the right things. Again, you've got Kulu talking as well. It talks too much, some people might say. But again, he's talking, I'm hungry. Let's eat. Do you know what I mean? Things where he's trying to galvanize players underneath him. I know it's not for everyone, but I'm just saying that those players are better players. Are they talking with their feet? Because sometimes you could talk. Yeah, I'm saying
you can do.
Talking a lot right now.
Maddison get pushed about too much.
It's a different thing.
I don't know.
And Maddison has too many tantrums on the pitch. Maddison gets too bitchy. He is not a captain material again for me. Maddison's one to stand there and cry when it isn't going right.
Captains, I'm talking about leadership now. I'm talking about leaders on the pitch.
In terms of leaders, I don't know.
I misunderstood you. I misunderstood.
Yeah. I know, but I did say captains before, so I do get.
I get Kulusevski, to be fair, but I mean, hey, look, when it comes to I don't know. One leader is eating chips and curry sauce, and the other one's eating IKEA meatballs, bro. I don't know if they can be my leaders, bro. I don't know if they can be my leaders, gang. I'll be real. Hey, look, I'm a new school guy. I didn't watch Roy Keane. I was too young for that. But I do like leaders. I do like leaders who say something on the pitch. Like I didn't have Roy Keane's, but I've seen Sergio Ramos's. I've seen Casillas's. I've seen players who will stand up and talk. You know what I'm saying? Even someone like Hugo Lloris, whether we like him as a goalkeeper, at least he would run his mouth to the players. You know what I'm saying? Like I want someone who can actually say something on the pitch. Leading by example is good and all that, but when you have players that aren't as good as you, it doesn't always work to lead by example. You know what I'm saying? So just giving it to the best player isn't always a sign of, we should give him the captain or make him a leader. Because Maddison and Son are two of our best players, but making our best players a leader doesn't always work, because for someone who isn't one of our best players, just leading by example won't work when you ain't got the technical ability of a Maddison or a Son or a Kulusevski. It won't always work. That Roy Keane wasn't technically great. Sorry, Daniel, but Roy Keane wasn't technically better than anyone on his team. Things like that. Sergio Ramos, he was technical, but he wasn't the best player on his team. But they're the people who would step up and talk and make sure everyone's in line. So that's something I really want in a leader.
When I want a leader on the pitch, for me, a leader on the pitch, a captain, he's got to be the second boss. He's got to be the second manager, basically. Because if the manager can't shout everything from on the pitch, you need the captain to talk for you. You need the captain to do that job for you. That's what he's there for. Okay, I give it, lead by example and everything. It's not always the best way they do it. But if the game's not going your way and you're not getting the ball, how can you then be the leader by what you're doing when you're having as much of a stinker as everybody else? The idea for me then is, even though you're 3-0 down, is to drag it up. Grab the player, tell him, pull your finger out, get your act together, boys. Come on, we can do this crap. Get it together. Son don't do that. Son does a bit of shouting when it's going the way and that, or when it's 1-0. I've seen Son too many times melt to pieces when we go 2-0 down and just put his head down. I've seen Maddison too many times start throwing a tantrum on the pitch because he's had a little dirty tackle on him and it's not going his way. Because players aim at him straight away because he's easy work. With Spurs, I think the problem is there's an old saying, but I'm going to reverse it. I think we have too many Indians and not enough Chiefs.
Yep.
And the saying is usually too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard Indian. I didn't know where it was gonna go. So I was
Yeah. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Too many Cowboys.
It's usually too many Chiefs, not enough Indians. Yeah. I think it's the reverse way round. We have no leaders on that pitch whatsoever. As far as
if I look, for example, Brighton, who would you say their leader is? They're ahead of us at the moment. Would you say they've got massive leaders in their team in their because sometimes I just think you can lean on players like we used to lean on Kane a lot, in my opinion, where Kane was that quality player where he can get us out of trouble. And that's what I mean by leaning on your leaders, like players that can step up. And now Kulusevski he hasn't shown it to me yet. He still needs to prove it to me over a season.
He's captain of Sweden.
He's the captain of Sweden, to be fair. But so is Romero's the captain. No, is Romero captain? No, he's not.
Well, we have Basuma.
No, Son's the captain. So Son's the captain of Korea.
Basuma's the captain of Mali or whatever that's
Basuma, do you know what I mean? So technically, there should be at least in the dressing room, there should be enough leaders in there to have words and call each other out. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what's needed. So I don't know. I'm looking at other teams that are in and around us. Aston Villa. Who's their leader? Do you know what I mean? They look.
Is it McGuinn? Is it McGuinn? Is he
but
the leader?
Do you see McGinn?
But this is the problem I got, Ash, though. It's like we're supposed to be part of this big six, right? And it's like we're comparing our teams that no disrespect to Aston Villa and Brighton, but it's like if we're supposed to be like wanting to be one of the top clubs and compete on that kind of level, all the top clubs have that leader. The problem with like Man United, I guess, is the only really exception.
Who would you say Arsenal's leader is? Odegaard,
honestly,
right? He's captain.
Probably Odegaard, Odegaard or maybe Saliba, whoever you want to talk about.
So it's a different type of leadership there going on.
But even then, you have players like Saliba who will speak up, and you have players.
I don't know if Saliba's that type of character. Maybe Gabriel. He looks more of a
I was going to say maybe Gabriel comes across as more of a loudmouth than Saliba as such. I do get the idea of you can lead by the way you play, and Harry Kane I think is a good example of that. Harry Kane, you can take him as a leader just because you know he will save your ass. He's a better player than Haaland by a million miles. He can feed himself. Haaland can't feed himself. He needs mummy to do it for him, Kevin De Bruyne.
Sometimes he spills his food too.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is players like Harry Kane can do that, but there's a big difference here. Harry Kane is world class. He is someone I call world class. Yeah?
Yep.
Other players, Messi, he won't allow mouth, whatever. I know that's a big one off but again, he could just keep his mouth shut and he could lead that pitch all day long because he's got the quality to do it. We don't have players like that. Maddison has his moments, nothing more, nothing less. How often do you see Maddison have a steady game? Not very often.
Yeah,
he usually has him in purple patches.
Calling him out. I'm calling the Kulu out.
He has it in purple patches. Kulu, again, he's been our best player this season, but he's still been. Where was he versus Ipswich? Where was our leaders versus?
And that's
Crystal
what I said.
Palace?
But I'm
Where
saying
were they versus West Ham?
I said that, but I'm saying is that now on Ange because he's the one that's saying he wants to be the one that builds the leaders, and I'm saying him taking Maddison in and out is that way of him trying to create like push responsibility onto him. But anyway, we've spoken so much about this point. I want to quickly pivot because the time is moving, and we haven't spoken about Vicario. I know every channel spoke about it. Vicario, oh my days,
I've done mine.
What are we gonna do? Blah blah blah. Do you not think that with Vicario being out, do Spurs have to adapt again? As you know, Dan was saying, do we have to necessarily change the way we play? Do you think Ange will change the way we play? What would you like to see happen with Vicario, or do you think like we're pretty much gonna? It's who we are, mate. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what he says. It's who we are. So do you think we're gonna carry on playing the way we are?
We're gonna get slapped if we try and play this high line sweeper keeper thing, bro. The man is 37. Fraser Foster's 37. He's damn near middle age. Give him 10 years, he'd be twice my age, bro. This is not no. Fraser Forster, we cannot be playing this highline thing with him. The one thing I will say is that he's commanding in the air, which is something that Vicario
Yes.
isn't.
Mhm.
So, and my only problem with Fraser Forster is I don't mind him not being a great passer. I don't mind him being old, so he's not as quick. I just have a problem with sometimes his saves. He just makes saves look hella dramatic, like simple saves at him. Like we all remember that Galatasaray first goal. Like it looks like a wonder goal. Watch the replay. He gets a hand to it, he palms it into his own net, and it's like, bro, we've been seeing this already, and it's just, I don't want. I feel like that's gonna start rearing his head a bit more. But Fraser Forster, to be fair, he offers us something different. You know, the whole crosses into the box, he's a lot more commanding at that. And to be
Yeah.
fair, our problem in terms of conceding goals hasn't really been the high line as much. It's more been crosses into the box this season. Whereas last season, it was really pinging the ball up top. So if there is a goalkeeper that might help us with that, it's
Do
Fraser
you,
Forster for now.
sorry to cut you, bro, but do you think with the way Dragusin defends and the way Ben Davies defends, some people have called it like a calming presence where Ben Davies doesn't rely on his pace. He kind of is quite an experienced defender and he uses his position a little bit better to kind of, you know, put himself about. Then Dragusin, like you said before, he in Girona, he was in the back three. Again, he was able to defend the box a bit better. Do you think with the likes of their aerial presence, their positioning, and also Big Vic, his height as well, as you said, in his physicality, the size of him. One time Messi was calling him a wall, the Scottish or the English wall or something like that, because he couldn't score past him. Do you think that? I'm just trying to be a little bit opty, you know what I mean?
I hear it.
No,
Yeah, because
man.
English War at 40 years old is crazy. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
I think we're in serious trouble. I
Yeah.
think the word I will use, this is where we really see again, can Ange adapt, yeah? Or is Ange going to have his finger stuck up and again go back to stubborn ways, yeah?
Mhm.
If we go and try and press this high line, whatever you want to call it, counter pressing this and that, I got my own different view of it, yeah? But we want to press this high line up there. Starting with Dragusin and Davis there is suicidal on its own on a high line. But if you want to go and try a high line and you got Fraser Forster in goal, game over. Yeah, it's not happening. If he goes and does this now, then to me, he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. He needs to realise now I have to play with these cards and I cannot change them. It doesn't matter what I do out on that pitch. Fraser Forster is an old school goalkeeper. Now, I'm not relating him to the qualities, but he's a Peter Cech. Yeah, he's an Oliver Kahn. He's a
Sit in
Buffon.
that goal and stay there, bro.
You stay on your goal line, you go nowhere. Apart from maybe when the corner comes over.
When the corner comes in, you catch it. That's it.
Yeah, and that is what he does. Is he a bad keeper? No. Is he a good keeper? Sure as hell he ain't. Yeah, he's okay at his very best. I mean, how long does he take to get to the floor? I mean, I'm 43 and my back is knackered, and I could still jump to another post better than that. Yeah, you know,
if he starts his save now, he'll make the save in the first shot at
exactly.
Fulham.
And
You know what
the
I'm
way
saying?
he
It's
also
gone.
looks at it, like his brain is already working, and his body works 3 seconds later. We're screwed. If we do not sit back deeper now, and have to sit back deeper, whether Ange likes it or not, we are going to get absolutely cooked against teams like Chelsea when Carlton Palmer comes through and that, and when we go along
Nicholas
against
Jackson got a
teams like
field day. Oh my God.
again, and we go up against Liverpool and we setting on our high press. That's all they're going to do. And remember, Van der Ven ain't back for another 3 weeks either. Anything from 2 to 4 weeks even. Yeah,
you don't even know that.
Yeah. And so we haven't got our little pace boy there to cover us, because I think we've had more trouble than people might have realised. It's just Van der Ven has saved our ass so many times and we're so used to it. But then the minute he's not there, we notice his pace isn't there. That game against City, you didn't really notice it because we were so much deeper on the defence. Maybe because they pushed it on us, fine. But the one thing I think we definitely need to do, if we are going to play deeper and play with a more centre-back, okay, play with one centre-back, play with one ball-playing defender. We only have one player in that, do I say defence or do I even say team? I say team. We only have one player in that team who can actually head that ball assertively, with power, with aggression, with control, and that is Dragusin. No one else, maybe Richarlison, yeah? No one else on that team can head. Not at all. Romero, all over the place. Van der Ven, I mean, for the size of him, you'd expect him to do it. No, it is his weakest point. Dragusin can control a box by heading the ball. He can get up there. He's got the He's got the physicality to do it. He also knows how to do it. We need cover there big time, more than ever now. Otherwise, we are going to get torn.
The only way these man head is if they change their sexuality. That is it, man. I'm telling you, they have no aggression in the box at all. It's gonna be long.
I'm gonna end the show soon, but I'm gonna talk about if we can survive to January. If we can survive to January,
that is if. Yeah,
I'm like, can we bring a goalkeeper in? I was meant to bring this up this week anyway, yeah, because Marlon was like, we need a keeper. And we need to talk about fullbacks and centre backs because that's another area we're lacking with Doggy and Mickey van der Ven. You know, if the cover's thin, basically. But yeah, let me talk about this guy real quick, and then we'll get into it, man. But basically, this guy's name is Juan Garcia. He plays for Espanyol. He's 23 years old, so he's a young keeper. But on transfer market, it's 10 million euros. So I'd always add like another 10 or 5 on top. But that's basically his in Spain, you have a release clause. So if you meet the release clause, then that club can talk to you. So he was playing in the second division last season, but this season he's been playing first team of La Liga. Contract does run out in 2028. He's right-footed, Spanish, 6'2", so 191 centimeters meters there. Is the things that stand out to me: save percentage, shots on target save percentage as well, average length of goal kicks, launches as well, crosses stopped is good as well. So that's a good thing. So a competition to Vicario, this is what I'm looking at. Defensive actions outside the penalty area in a good green arrow as well. So that means he can sweep a keeper. So it's a good profile of a player from what I can see. I've looked at him against David Raya in terms of like completing the passes. So let's look at some of his passes, because here you see him paying out from the back, someone that's competent. Long ball over the top into the channel, another ball into the midfield, plays it back. He's competent to play it out wide into the fullback, over the top, first time, no problem. Into the flanks again, into the midfield, into the diagonal, into the left. But there you have it. Here is some of his crossing, goalkeeping from crosses as well, able to get his hands on it, over the bar, safe with it there. Just a few incidents here where he's just literally coming out for certain things and defending that 6-yard box, picking it up. I've only got a few bits here, really. There wasn't a lot on him, but again, the season's brand new, so I'm not going to have a ton of footage on him. But yeah, here he is again. Again, saves now. We're looking at sweeping is coming out, but yes, shots on target. You're seeing him come over, carry on, and this is what we need: a bit of competition for Vicario in terms of shot stopping, because people are really impressed by Vicario's shot stopping. So I'm looking at this guy. Can he save? Can he get down quicker than what Forster's doing? Yes, he can. Is he flexible? Is he at the right age, right profile? Yes, he is. He's getting to those corners and showing different scenes where he's able to get down to his left side, his right side, doesn't matter. And he's helping his team come out of that position. And this team is currently second or third from bottom at the moment. And he's one of the better keepers in the Liga at the moment. So I just think maybe in January, could Levy pull out the checkbook? It's an important position we need to fill, and he's a decent player. So it's not like it's a panic buy where we're rushing. And I think this is a player we should go for, in my opinion. But yeah, here he is smothering the ball there. But yeah, that's a quick look at him. Oops, sorry about that. But yeah,
this is why I don't like Levy, man. The fact we have to compare this guy to Fraser Forster is ridiculous, bro.
But big up box office in the building. Walk on, bro. Later, telling me, what did you want to say? I know you got a lot to say, bro.
I ain't got a lot to say, bruv, because all I can say is, bruv, I know you give me players for free, but you're telling me that Johan Lang's going to find that player. You have a laugh.
Say again?
You think Johan Lang's going to be looking at that player? Bruv, I can't trust this guy, bruv. We got. I can't even say the word. I can't even say the word because I'm not a baby. FRAUD. Yeah, I'm sorry. This guy, like I said before, yeah, and it's embarrassing I'm saying this, right? Because I thought the other guy was actually better. I can't remember his name now. That we used to have with Pochettino. Yeah,
Gazaniga.
No.
Oh.
The director of football. The director
Oh,
of football.
Paratici.
I would
No, not
agree with Finipa right
Paratici.
now,
Well,
though.
yeah. I regret, yeah. I'm saying I'd rather have Paratici back at my club. Yes, there was somebody else that was a good
Oh,
as well.
Paul Mitchell. It's
Paul
like
Mitchell,
bingo.
yeah. Paul Mitchell. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
The brother from EastEnders, bro.
I wouldn't trust Johan Lang to even look at a player, bruv, because he got me Timo Werner twice. I'm sorry, that below average Shane Long, that still is a. I would get out this club tomorrow. I'm sorry. And again, I'm saying it again because I've heard some of the excuses from some of our fan base. Yeah, I do not feel sorry for us at the moment for injuries because I told people on Mr. Box Office TV we made a mistake with our squad and look what's happened. Sorry, this is what's happening to us. We deserve it. I'm not having it, and that's it.
So is that on
I'm-
the club?
That's on Ange. That's on Ange, and that's on Ange as
Elijah,
well. I'm
I'm
sorry.
Elijah
I'm not
Fully-
hearing it.
Elijah.
I'm not hearing it.
Sorry,
I'm not
Box
hearing
Office.
that. I'm not hearing Levy.
I'm
I'm not
asking
hearing it.
Elijah
I
a
am not
question.
hearing it.
You
I
allow
am
me to
not
ask
hearing
him?
it.
Oh,
I am
jeez.
not hearing it. I'm sorry. I've heard all the excuses today. So I
I
had
was
to
about
say.
to blame. I was about to blame. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's funny that the name of the brothers Lange, because the first time I found that out, yeah, I just thought someone said El Ange, and then they're like, no, Lange is the name of the guy who does the transfer. I'm like, oh, that's the irony is not lost in it in a El Ange.
It's
But
funny how Elijah's actually agreed with me. By the way, big up to you, Bob. By the way, yeah. By the
Appreciate it,
way,
man.
yeah. I was the one that said to Ash when I saw your video, Bob, get this guy on straight away, Bob.
Oh, I
Yeah,
appreciate that, man.
yeah,
I've seen you on
yeah.
some live
Straight
streams,
away,
man. I
Bob.
love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw you on George's stream, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big up
amazing.
to Hotspur Hood. Yeah, don't forget you, Bob. You know
Give
what I mean?
Box Office's flowers now.
Yeah, you
Right.
know what I mean. But you know what I mean. But but like I said,
What are we waiting for?
yeah. It's funny now you agree with me, bruv. Yeah, I'm the one that's called toxic though. Yeah, the one that's called the
Oh,
meltdown.
I've been called the Spurs League Gunner already,
Oh,
bro. I've only uploaded like
Oh,
10
mate,
videos.
I've had that a million times.
Bro, I've done this 4 years, bruv. I've heard it all day long, bruv. Yeah, I'm trying
Oh,
out for YouTube,
jeez.
bruv. Yeah, the nightmare, yeah, bruv. They don't want to
Yeah.
listen to the
I
main
hear
event.
it.
But who's
So-
always right? Who's always right? Oh yeah, the main
Yes,
event. Oh
I have
yeah,
to add balance.
I
then.
hear it. Look, you know what
exactly.
it is, yeah? With me, I'm just going to speak on a general term. It's just the fact of I've seen some people blame Levy for the signings. And I've seen some people blame Ange for the signings. And I've just found that people who tend to be Ange in blame Levy, and people who are Ange out, they to be fair, they're the most, they'll blame both of them, to be fair. Now, most people I've spoken to are either one of the two or both. I know Harry has Spurs TV, shout out to him. He's both. Box office, I know you're Ange out. I don't know about it. I'm assuming you're Levy out as well.
Bob,
I don't know.
you know what, Bob? It doesn't even matter if I'm Ange out, if I'm Ange out, Bob. It's not even my decision, bro. But this
I
guy,
hear it.
no, listen. Against Man City, if he still does what he does against Man City, yeah, sticks to the tactics of keeping it deep, playing on the counter because we play a counter-attacking football. So after Aston Villa, when I was in Dubai, people were twerking for this manager again. Yeah, saying that don't play counter-attacking football, we play beautiful football. No,
Hold on.
counter-attacking football.
Hold
Sorry. It was beautiful. It was nice. The first goal was nice. Yeah, I still don't rate Kulu. Sorry. He needs to do more.
Damn, you don't
I've
reckon-
had to
yes.
I've
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 heard you
heard
say he's on good
all these
form, yeah.
people
I
saying,
don't
"Oh
think the
my
first goal was
gosh,
a
he's
counter-attack.
so good. He's so good. Oh my gosh, he's world class. He's this and that and this is." No, I'm sorry. And
Fair.
I've even had people starting to make excuses and say, "Well, look at Dembele's stats compared to him. Oh, Dembele must be not a great player then."
No,
Don't even
you
get me
gotta stop
started on that guy.
comparing players.
Don't
Who's
even
man
get me
Dembele?
started,
Comparing
bruv.
managers.
Do
I
not
think
get me
personally,
started.
just before Dan comes in, yeah, because I got that get Dan in as well. I personally think, and you know, I've got to add the caveat or the devil's advocate or the angel's advocate, whatever you want to call it, just to make sure this show doesn't go one way. Yeah, hear me out, guys. Do you think if this manager had credentials, e.g., was like a Conte and had like previous in a top 5 European league, some fans, not all fans, some fans would say Ange has got one hand tied behind his back. Do you know what I'm saying? Compared to what, like, supposing Conte, remember Conte, he never asked for Basuma, but he didn't really moan about it. Richarlison came under his tenure. He didn't really moan about it. even Longley, he actually came out and was like, yeah, I wanted Longley. Do you know what I mean? Mourinho was bigging up Dyer, saying, yeah, Dyer's a top player. I like him, blah, blah, blah. Played Davies. When we got the striker, I forgot, the midfielder, Jadon Fernandez.
And to be fair, Carlos Vinicius as well.
He didn't complain. He didn't come out and say, "Raw, what's going on here?" These men, us as fans, took it upon ourselves to say, "Look, he was hamstrung. He had one arm behind his back. How is he meant to get the best out of these players?" And then also, people say that, "Raw, if Conte was playing with this team, he would get a much better tune out. He would probably play a back three, yeah. But if you deep it, we don't have enough centre backs to play a back three. If you really think about it, because
Whose fault's that?
Not consistently.
Well, this is the point I'm coming back to, because I'm saying no, but like if we played a back three now, you'd have what, Dragusin, Ben Davies, and because Mickey van der Ven's injured and Romero's injured.
Be Archie Gray, put Archie Gray.
I'd have to be Archie Gray in the back. And also,
why don't we stick Archie Gray in goal?
Conte
He's gonna play there before he plays DM. I'll tell you that.
You know what I mean?
It's gonna be, you're gonna play him up top.
Conte didn't want Sarr. Conte was playing Oliver Skip over Sarr. I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, when he was playing the three centre backs, Ange definitely wanted Van der Ven, and I don't think the system is reliant on Van der Ven, because now we are seeing a way that we're not relying on pace anymore. We beat Man City without Mickey van der Ven, being that sweeper. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there, innit? Otherwise, the show's gonna go.
No, and you made, I
know what I mean?
Saying, to be honest,
I'm trying my hardest. Allow me.
It was because it was a total different way. Like you even showed in what you've done. We weren't pressed as high as we usually were. Not a chance. And when we have it that we are sitting on the halfway line, like we did at the start of the City game, without Van der Ven, we're in trouble. Big trouble. Because it only takes one ball and one ball only, and we get cooked. That is why, and with the goalkeeper now, the situation, we definitely need to sit deeper on this. With the players, us not having a goalkeeper, a decent sub-goalkeeper, who is that down to? Well, I hear off a lot of people, yeah, but Ange is the man. Ange is the Don. Ange is the boss. Ange picked this player. Ange picked... Oh, no, he didn't pick Timo Werner. That was Levy. Don't worry about that. Ange wanted Johnson. Ange wanted that. And then all of a sudden the player ain't that good. Oh, no, Ange didn't pick him. Levy picked him. Make your minds up, people. I'll sit here and say it was down to both of them, yeah?
They're his players.
You know? I'll say I think he wanted all... He blatantly wanted Solanke, suits Ange Ball, this and that, what people say and everything.
Yep.
It is my manager's job. Not mine, not anyone else's. It is his job to turn around and say, get me a younger boy and a goalkeeper there. I need a bit of backup. But then I can't curse him for this one, because we did have more important roles to cover, and that was a number one goalkeeper for one of them. And we did have slightly more important places to cover. And how many people actually look at a goalkeeper getting busted for 3 months? It's something that we're a bit naive on, in the aspect of it sort of goes over everybody's head. Because if this would have happened to any other player, you'd have been like, oh, yeah, it happens. But the fact that it's happened to the goalkeeper, you're like, you just, like what happened to Nick Pope last year. It's very rare you see a goalkeeper go out for a significant long time. Where do we go with it? That is the thing.
What? It does happen though. It happened to obviously Liverpool. With
it's just not regular, is it?
And even Stegen's out for the entire year as well for Barcelona.
It does happen. So, like, you're right. We did have more pressing issues in. To be fair to Ange, he did get Vicario in. Do you know what I mean? But some people will say, no, that wasn't Ange. That was Paratici. Do you know what I mean? So we could do this game where we say, like, is it the recruitment? Or is it Ange? Is it a bit of both? I would probably land somewhere in the middle, because I do put the blame on Ange for Timo Werner 100%, and also Johnson. And I think his football IQ has to be questioned. Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of the players that he thinks are worthy for this league. And now I think he's learning a lot more on the job on what maybe players he might need And what the only thing I would say is, and maybe he got this wrong, I think when he picked up Solomon, I think Solomon's a different profile. Not saying Solomon's good. I don't like Solomon, by the way, but I'm just saying he's different skill sets to what Brennan Johnson has on the ball on the right hand side. You know what I mean? Or on the left hand side to maybe a Werner. So maybe he was looking for that type of player that could kind of, have more gumption in possession, have more know-how when we have the ball, knows how to hold on to it, doesn't lose it, has more, can actually beat a man or can actually recycle the play, has like intelligence on the ball, can go on the outside,
More of a Kulusevski.
can cross, can shoot, can pass. You know what I'm trying to say? Things that you want for your winger, for your wide midfielder, whatever you want to call it, your inside, it doesn't matter. So you've got maybe that blame is on Ange, or maybe that blame was on the recruitment. Maybe it was a bit of Levy in this one because it was a free.
I think it's a bit of everything.
Political about the whole Israeli thing, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, it does smell of a Levy signing Solomon being on the free. Do you know what I mean? And taking advantage of what was it? What was the team? Shakhtar. And they were trying to sue us on the back of it. Do you know what I mean? And then also when you look at Richarlison, if I go back to that, it was from a relegated team. Brennan Johnson, Forest was in a position where they had to sell. Do you know what I mean? Because of the PSR, FFP, whatever rubbish that was. And so he took advantage of it. And so it's going to lead me on to my next question. And my next question is, would you lot take in the summer Cunha? Would you take him as a player?
Yes.
He's a player that can play attacking midfield. He can play the number 9. He can play in different roles. Would you take a Cunha in your team if we got rid of, let's say, a Richarlison? Or do you think, again, is that Levy magic where supposing Wolves got relegated? I don't think they would, but I feel like Spurs would pounce for them if, that situation.
As we do. It's a Spurs.
It feels like if for example, Ipswich goes down, I could see Spurs being linked to Rory Delap. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't
think he'd come here though. I think City have 20 million.
That seems to be our transfer policy where I'm like, is that really Ange or is that the board? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
On something, seeing something like, that's what they want. Do you know what I mean? We could take advantage of a smaller team. And
what I think happened
at Chelsea, would he get the same treatment? I don't know.
What I think happened here, this is what I think. I think a majority of this is down to Ange because I think he picked those players. But I do also blame Levy in that as well, because we all know Levy is the cancer of the club, basically. Yeah, we all know he is the disease. Well, I say we all know. A lot of people know, and a lot of people don't want to know. But I believe it came down all three sides, basically. From Levy, he's the one who signs the book, yes or no, and also the others. I think one of the problems we had here is where we had a manager, again, I relate to it, who's never played in a big league football. He's never even played close to it. I think we had a manager here who was still thinking almost like, yes, Brennan Johnson, great player. He'd do me brilliant. Yes, you're not at Celtic anymore, mate. You're at Tottenham. I still think he had that problem. And with that, I think he might have actually signed a couple of players and almost been too far stuck up himself, whether you want to call it arrogant, ignorant, stubborn, whatever, that he knew what he was doing and maybe realised, maybe I didn't necessarily get the right player here and I've got to look at a different level now. A lot of people were saying, is he going to be the next Brighton manager? Now, this is how I pictured him. He was going to be like a Brighton manager and be able to pick the gems out. Well, he hasn't really done that either. He's also had more money spent on him and put in his face than he has seen in his entire life. Add up every club he's been up to and it don't even come up to 5% of what Spurs have spent on him as well. So he's got money flying around him left, right and centre. He's not used to this stuff. He's never done it. I just think he maybe underestimated things too much and didn't realise the big jump that he had just took. Because, again, people say to me, why do you relate to Scottish League all the time? Why? Because that's the only decent thing he'd done. Thing is, the Scottish League is ranked lower than the American League, and that is ranked 15th. I just don't think he realised the big jump. And some of the players he bought... Look at the players that went for 40, 45 million.
I hear you.
Look
I
at
hear you,
Kulu
bro.
at West Ham, and he goes and picks on Brennan Johnson.
I hear you. I hear you. All I'm gonna say, and I hear your point, and maybe he did underestimate. I think that's a strong argument there. And as I said before, I is he learning on the job? I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Possibilities.
Yeah, because he's never managed at this level, so
No,
he's
that's what I'm
now
saying.
finding out what it does take to kind of get it to. And I'm saying, do we wait to maybe January or end of the season to start looking closer at him and saying, actually, yeah?
That's
Or are
my
we,
view. That's my view.
because the reason why I say that is we're basically coming into those run of fixtures. This is like not the business ends, but this is the sticky part of the season where you got games back to back. It'll be nice to see how he does manage this with the injuries. And he's saying, look, it's on me, no excuses. He's not saying, like, Pep came out and was like, when I get my players back. I don't know if you lot heard that. Did you hear that? Did you hear what he said? He goes, when I get
Yeah,
my
that's
players back. Ange actually saying that. He's not moaning like, oh, I've lost my keeper, or wait till, like, even when he had that injury crisis, wait till I get my players back. Madison and Van der Ven. He just kind of dealt with it. He just said, you know what? It is what it is. I'm dealing with it. And we move. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying maybe we wait a little bit, just like what
Yeah.
box office says. I need to see more from Kulu. I need to wait till the end of the season before I start singing Kulu's praises. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I need a whole season to be convinced.
I need a season and a half.
Well, there you go. So then maybe we give Ange a season and a half. I'm just saying, I don't know. Is it?
No, but it's
can
for me at the moment. It comes
be
natural
fair?
for me.
Is that fair then? Is that fair?
Yeah,
To give
but
him the
it
same amount
comes
of time?
to I will say it when I feel I see what like I can give him credit, and that's it. I can't really. For me, he has to do a season at least. You know what I mean? And then do it the following season. Because the thing is, though, people are having to go at Phil Foden, at the moment, and look at the seasons he's had, and
It's
he's the
crazy.
same age.
It's crazy.
He's the same age. So where's the excuse here? You know
I
what I
think
mean?
fans are
I
reacting.
don't like all this young boy stuff and everything. Like people when saying Johnson's a young boy and everything. Oh, shut up, man. He ain't no boy. Grow up here and be a
This
man.
is something that I heard Sava talking about, and I actually ended up agreeing because I was on this we have a young team kind of thing, and when Sava broke it down, I heard him break it down on the Ashmatic show. I don't think he was there, Ash, but I heard him break it down, and I was like, oh yeah, Fairs actually, he's actually right. So
do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? There's a difference between a Johnson and a Kulu. You can clearly see it, not just physically in their faces, and then it's also like the mannerisms. You can see the life experience in Kulu compared to Johnson. You can see that Johnson's a boy,
He's a
24,
nice boy.
and Kulu is a man, 24.
Yeah,
You see what I'm trying to say?
he's had to insert the IKEA furniture and that, bro. He's
This
been
is it.
doing it
He's
to a
had to
young
put
age,
the
man.
shelves up by himself, whereas Johnson had mummy to do it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Nice boy.
there's
He's a
different-
nice boy.
There's
Yeah,
different
man.
levels of life experiences. So I think it's too easy to say,
Kulu's
oh,
had one
you
of
know,
these. He's had one of these in his hand since 3 years old, man. You know, like that.
Yeah.
That's what it
Is
is,
it?
man.
Johnson's had it somewhere else.
Oh, good boy now. Wow. I'm not doing that. I ain't getting personal. Look, on Spurs Kings TV, we
I
do
mean,
not
seriously,
save
No, it is.
like this.
Johnson had one of these, bro. The
I
electronic
can't.
ones. You know what I'm saying?
If you're good enough, to play and get a 50 grand contract,
Cut the show. Cut the show.
you got to be good enough.
Sure,
Listen,
I get
you gotta be good
demonetized,
enough.
I
bro.
hope Johnson does well. Pick up his dad and his family. But listen, I'm
Oh yeah,
saying,
shout out Brendan Johnson, man.
no, Kulu left his home as a young boy at 14, 15. He left home. Like, bad mom, I'm gone in it later. You know what I'm saying? Left the yard, went, did his trade, did his Sweden thing, whatever. Then he went to Italy, went abroad. You know what I'm saying? So in footballing years, at a senior level, if you look at where he started at Udinese, he was about, what, 18, 17? You know what I mean? Then he went to Juventus, 19. Do you know what I'm saying?
Was that Palmer?
He was at Parma, not
He was
Udinese.
at Parma
My
first,
bad.
and then he went
My bad,
Juventus.
I misspoke. My bad. Parma, yeah. So as a young man at Parma, 17, he's playing at a senior in the first team, senior level, working under senior coaches, and they're expecting him to hit that ground running. And so he knows what it takes from that age up until now when he's 24. Like, he's a different 24 to a Brennan Johnson that might have come through Nottingham Forest's academy, then went on loan to, I don't know, a Division 1 team in Exeter or something like that. Don't quote me. And then came back to Nottingham Forest. And do you know what I mean? The grooming was slightly different. Do you know what I mean?
Pause.
And then pause. And then from Forest, he's had to jump into Tottenham. You get me? Like, but that jump from Forest to Tottenham, whereas Kulu's done the jump from Parma to Juventus. Juventus is a big club. Do you know what I'm saying? Bigger than Spurs. Let's be real. Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm
very
saying?
big. Yeah,
But then Johnson,
What I'm saying
is in
there's
the
a
biggest
different
league in the
level
world,
of-
and he already had experience.
But I'm saying this is a different level of a 24-year-old
Yeah.
Kulu to a Johnson. I'm just trying to be fair here, like guys. What are we doing?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So when we say young players, Pap Sarr clearly is a kid. You can see like when he plays, you can see when he's busting up Vodaba online. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's gonna be different to I don't know.
Basuma then.
But that's the thing. Like,
No,
Basuma,
Basuma's grown. Basuma's grown.
He's a grown ass man. Yeah.
Look, we
Yeah,
have-
he's the man getting high in the back of the car.
But
Yeah,
this-
big up
this-
balloons
this-
and that. Deli Alley number 2.
This is what I'm talking about.
Jeez.
There's different mentalities, there's different life experiences, and there's people that can and this is what we got to judge people on, not just that physical age. Like, do you know what I mean?
No, which I fully understand.
Like,
I fully understand that.
Like Elijah is I don't know how old Elijah is.
I'm 22.
Right? And me, I feel like a 22-year-old. I know I'm not 22, bro. I know, but in my heart, I feel like a 22.
No. I only feel like a
No.
22-year-old in one place and one place only, and that's where I act like a 22, but that's private. When it comes to
We're brought into the public setting and it said it's private.
When it comes
to
to a player like Johnson, you want to play in a man's game. You got to be able to play like a man. You want a man's contract. You want to be in a man's team. You want to be you want to. I don't care what you want to be
I
on
agree.
the pitch.
Yeah, I agree
be
with
a
that.
unicorn for all I care. Yeah. When you on that pitch, you a man.
I agree.
Act like a man. Be a man.
And
you
it's
want
also
to be
a question of who
for
signs these
47
players.
million. Now, 47 million not is cool. Yeah, I get that. You can't blame a player for that, but you're going to get eyeballs for that. Yeah. But you want to get man's wages. You want to be picked in the 24 team and everything and that. When you get on that pitch, grow a pair. You act like a man. Don't sit there like no little bitch and start tampering. This is why I actually have a bit of respect for Johnson, yeah? Because the amount of stick he got off the pitch, which he deserved half of it for purely how he was playing, yeah? Rest of it, uncalled for, but it comes with a game, but I don't make nothing right, yeah? But he actually manned up and said, do you know what? And he spoke on the pitch. I still think he's a poor player, but he taps it in the goals. He gets the goals in. He was doing his
That
job.
was so funny.
A lot of other players would have just totally melted in the corner and been quiet. Fine.
Fair enough.
But I just don't like all this. Yes, but they're a young boy this, young boy that. Right, then put them in the under-21s and leave them there and get me some men in my team or get me some younger men in the team that want to act like men. I can't do all this shit with boys.
I just go on, Box.
Like I said, I've got too many nice guys at my club. Yeah, right. That's the problem. Yeah, too many nice guys at my club. I need arrogance and swag. That's what's going to get you through games, and that's it.
You're
and
right.
Some, it's like I said, I need somebody that's going to be going into the club and then saying, look at me. Yeah, you know what I mean. I can talk to one lady, talk to another lady, and I don't get worried about it. You know what I mean? Nice guys can sit in the corner and just do whatever. That's what Alex does, yeah? That's why you employed Mr. Box Office, yeah?
No self-snitching
You know what I mean?
please. No self-snitching. Carry on.
Huh?
No self-snitching.
Yeah,
So,
self-snitching, yeah, because that's what he is. He's a mug, yeah? Well, Mr. Box Office, we rock up in the club and you say, see what you're saying. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's like, what is this all about? You know what I mean? It's like,
Alex is right. You do not get to the top by being nice.
No, of course not. Of course, you've got to be ruthless in this industry.
It is dog eat dog out there.
It's like people are saying, why do we lose against Crystal Palace? Why do we lose against Ipswich? We had no composure.
I just think, if I'm going to throw in a little whatever you want to call it, I just think this club got it a little bit wrong, and Ange got it wrong as well, in terms of being that main sign, and I think he should have been supplemented with another type of winger, so the onus isn't on him, because I felt like there was times where we kind of, not depending on Johnson, but we overplayed him. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes when you're over reliant on a player, you start to see some of their frailties, and also the team wasn't performing well, so he's not that player that's going to pull you out of games, and because we need players as the comments were saying before, someone with X factor, someone that has a bit of gumption about them. And Johnson's not that guy. And for us to say, and I think it's because the price tag came, what Dan was saying, that's where the expectation came along with him. So people were saying, well, okay, who's this Johnson
Especially
guy?
for Levy to spend that kind of money.
This is what I say.
But then also, has he been played out of position? Would you say, box office, that
Yeah,
he's
but
not a winger? He's an inside forward.
He's an
And
inside forward.
as I showed on those clips, every clip I showed, did I once show him as a player with the ball at his feet running down the line? I always showed him in those clips in the space. Inside, whether it be the left channel or through the middle. And when I'm saying, Solanke should play him in there, Kulu should release it there, or the chance that he hit the post, it was all him running onto something, running into space. And that's what I mean. Maybe the club and maybe Ange got it right, because maybe they thought he's a player that has a lot of pace, a lot of tenacity, and he's going to hit that right wing and he's just going to drive at players like a Werner, and he's going to run down that wing. But he's not that guy. And
But
so
he
now
never
the
takes
club
a player on.
this summer was trying to.
This is the problem I have.
I know. I'm just saying, and I do understand the frustrations.
But it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's not just that. You said something very poignant in this stream. Yeah, you said Ange puts a system out and says you work out players. Yeah, right. The problem is with that, he can't do big characters. He don't have big characters.
All
Hence
right,
why
so
the fact that I
why
want Højbjerg back in my bloody team, which is embarrassing again. You know what I mean? Because like I said before, yes, they look good when it looks okay. When everything's going right for you against Man City, they look okay.
Wouldn't you say that Maddison's a big character?
Yeah, but
and he hooked him. He hooked him. He hooked
Madison.
He's got a big ego.
Whether he's a leader or not is different.
The problem is with
he's not a big ego kind of player.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
He's a big character.
When he first came to Spurs,
problem we have,
I want a number 10 shirt. I want that number 10 shirt.
So
he's a big character. I want to be the main man. I'm the main character syndrome.
But the problem we have when it comes down to the crunch, like Alex said, when it comes down to the crunch, when it's all going good, it's all going good, yeah. But when it comes down to the hardcore, and it has time every time, Ange included here, yeah. Every time the pressure comes off us and our people need to play ball, most of them act like their balls ain't even dropped, let alone play ball, yeah. And Ange acts exactly the same way. When the pressure comes down, he shuts up, he locks up. He don't make decisions until 75 minutes. He freezes, and he has done consistently many a time. I can name more games that this man has frozen and done nothing until 3-0 down. But when it's all going fine, it's all cushy, it's all sweet. It's when the shit hits the fan. That's when Ange freezes up a bit, and that's when the others freeze up and then look over to the manager, and he's standing there like this a lot of the time. No one can say he doesn't do it. He does it more than he doesn't do it. He does do it. It's frustrating. We haven't got no one. Go on, Alex.
And then it goes back to saying what I said before. He ain't a coach. He ain't a coach. And that's the problem. And that's what I have a problem with him.
So, all right, cool. All right, boom. Hear this out. Hear me out. I'm going to end the show because we're going forever. But hear me out, guys. So, and I'm not saying I'm right, by the way. This is for the show, right? So hear me out. And I'm trying my best because there's 3 of you guys.
I'll be a big up.
You're saying 3. I'm neutral.
Big up,
this, man.
Big up, you know you're my boy, bro. You know my boy, bro. You know my boy, bro. You know what I mean? I'm Marlon as well. I'm Marlon as well.
Hey, the 3 is Dan, box office, and Harry in the chat, bro. That's the 3.
All right, cool. Some of the audience, not even, don't worry. We're not doing individuals. But I'm just saying, look, last season, we had a different coach that Ange was dealing with, right? And that coach went on to manage into a different league in a different club. He's now employed 2 new coaches onto his coaching staff, which have different ideas. And so what he's trying to do now with these coaches, again, he tells them his philosophies, ideas. He keeps it really simple before putting the meat on the bones, pause, if you know what I'm trying to say. But these coaches, they're going to have their ideas, new voices say, and remember, the 2 new coaches he came on, he promoted the under-21s coach in Matt Wells, because was it Simon Davies that was the coach before? He left and went away, so it's coming back to me. We got Redondo and we've got Montgomery, right? So now you've got 3 different senior figures in that particular dressing room, coaching, doing preseason, starting again. So then now you're seeing an evolution, possibly, of what Ange's or what the team is doing on that pitch. It's not the same voices as last season. He's got 3 different coaches that are also learning on the job, as well as Ange is learning on the job, learning about the league, learning about these players. And it's a second season where he's had this same group of individuals trying to get them to learn the system and incorporate these new ideas moving forward. So I'm saying we give it a little bit longer, because I think this is an early part of the season. Liverpool could still fall off. Arsenal and City could still get back into it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Who knows? If Liverpool draw their next 3 games, all of a sudden the title race looks different. The Wolves and Crystal Palace are at the bottom of the league. Who's to say they can't come back and jump into the middle of the league? Because last season, Crystal Palace, their manager, he had them flying. And some people will say, Crystal Palace manager's better. Or Gary O'Neill from Wolves, he should be managing Spurs. He's a better. I've heard that. I've heard people say that. I've heard people say West Ham had the best transfer window, and look how poorly they're doing at the moment. So
I like the Ipswich manager.
Even the Ipswich manager, right? The Ipswich manager, people were saying for the England job, McKenna, he's a great manager. Look how but he started off really poorly. I'm just saying, is it a little bit early? And with these new coaches, and Matt Wells being the new assistant coach, the head assistant coach, with the other 2 as well, do we need to afford Ange a little bit more time and judge maybe in January? Like, I don't know. Maybe
I would judge him personally.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me give you a different side. Let me spin this for you then, Ash, yeah?
Go on.
Maybe if my man would have shut his mouth and not spoke too much and shot his own feet off so many times that he must be a Terminator, because I'm surprised he's got feet left, because he's also shot himself in the back of the head with him, man. He talks too much. I don't know, maybe he's learned with that. He's done himself over like a kipper. He put so much onto him, yeah, that people even sit there and think, are you Levy's little bitch? Are you really saying this to take it off Levy's back? People can't work out like how to take this man serious. Now, if I'm going to show credit to someone, yeah, I don't have to show respect to nothing or nothing, yeah, until you earn it. I show common courtesy, yeah. We all work different. I show this man common courtesy. Now, everything a manager says, you don't take it gospel. But when he hammers it down like he did, I am the boss here. I am the Don. I pick what players come in. I pick the way we play. I pick this. I do this. I know how it is at Spurs. I came here. We will win. My second season. People are going to start looking at you and like...
But isn't that him taking responsibility? Isn't that you? All right, for example,
I ain't finished. You talk the talk, now walk the walk. But when someone talks it and they ain't walking, you start questioning. He done himself no favours. My man talks too much. If he'd have kept it down a bit more, done a bit of talking, but, you know...
You know what I think this is? And I hear your point, because I've heard it before on other streams. I watched your show today. Big up Dan E on the Hotspur Hood. Make sure you subscribe and you get over there. But like my small caveat, my baby caveat is, I think as English people, British people, whatever you want to identify yourself as in this community, we don't really like people that are quite arrogant, loud, or that are outspoken. We kind of respect the more reserved people. You know, like Americans are quite loud and brash and in your face and blah, blah, blah. And now Ange has come out and he's backing himself, right? And I'm saying, right, if I came out and I said to Marlon, and I said, hey, Marlon, watch. As soon as I join this channel, I'm going to make sure this channel gets to 3,000. Do you know what I'm saying?
Guilty.
People will be like, this Ash brother is a dickhead. What's he talking about? Or is it a thing where actually, right, Ash believes in his source? Do you know what I mean? And in some cultures, they rate it. Some cultures, they're like, I like it. You know what I'm saying? My man's bigging himself up. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if you don't get there, because now you're putting yourself under pressure. If you get there, you look like a superstar. If you don't, you look like a dickhead. A bit like Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo said, I'm going to score 1,000 goals. Watch me. But obviously, he's trying to back his talk. If he does it, he looks great. But if he doesn't do it, he looks like a dickhead. You could possibly say the same argument, and I says a baby caveat, with Ange. You know what I mean? He's just trying to call himself out and put pressure on himself. And like he came straight away and he said, just top 4 rubbish. What are we doing here? Why are we starting with top 4? We need to be aiming higher. I've heard Spurs fans saying, I'm bored of top 4. Do you know what I mean? He's come out and he said, look, I want to be winning things. Do you know what I mean? I thought a lot of fans would have been behind that. Yeah, I want to win things too. Do you know what I mean? But he's come out and said it. And obviously we didn't get top 4. We got 5th and we played poor to the back end of things. People didn't really see it as teething issues because we carried out that poor form into the start of this season. Do you know what I mean? And so people are looking at him saying, this ain't teething issues. This ain't Australia, mate. This ain't Scotland. You're out of your depth. Get out of my club. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But is it a thing where I'm saying, right? Is it a thing where I'm saying, oh, Ange just wants to raise the level and he's putting himself under pressure. And if he fails, then maybe he isn't good enough and he needs to.
I don't mind.
Behind his
It's
leg.
a thin line, isn't it? Between
It's a thin line.
at times he comes across too stubborn. It's a thin line. I get you. You can relate it to Maddison. At times you think, he's right on that borderline of confidence, and then he's right on that borderline of like
delusion
or prick that you'd slap him in the pub sort of thing, and he'd walk out like with a little black eye and a broken nose because he can't fight back, but he's all got all the mouth. And Ange comes across like the big man that wants to run his mouth off, but he don't deliver. It's all good running your mouth off. I get it. I like the attitude he's got. In the attitude, he wants to be a man. Fair play. Now perform. My man can talk on about how he hung like a horse and that. Yeah, if he can't get it up and deliver on the day, he's useless.
I hear it. I don't mind him talking.
Before I end the show, go on.
I don't mind him talking. To be honest, I don't mind the talk because talking is just part of the game, and it's like, I know it's a football podcast, so I want to relate it to basketball really quick because you'll understand what I'm talking about. There's a player that was called Dennis Schroeder. He opted out of his contract because he felt like he was worth big money. And no one else in the league thought he was worth big money. So he had to take minimum contracts, but eventually he worked his way back up to a decent contract. And with Ange, it's kind of like, that's the way I kind of look at it in terms of football. Like Ange, he does the talking. I don't mind the talking. When it comes to the end, and this is what, for me, I'll judge him at the end of the season. This is why this City result is indifferent to me. It's indifferent to my opinion of Ange as a manager. It's indifferent to the way I feel like we play. It's nice just to talk shit and to get content out of it, roasted Man City players. I did that for like an hour, but in terms of the overall view of it, it doesn't really change for me because I don't judge Ange by what he says. He could talk the talk, but I judge it based on the results, how we play, who we get in the market, his philosophy. All these things is what I take into account. So is why I usually give managers 2 years because that's enough time to see who they buy, what style of football they want to play. Do they prefer league position or do they prefer cups? What is their relationship with the fans and with the owners? Do they talk a lot? Do they not talk a lot? And I think 2 years, big stuff like that. So like, it's enough for me to actually profile the person because 1 year anything can happen. So 2 years, I feel like is enough time to really profile this manager, what he wants. Does he prefer the league or does he prefer the cups? And yeah, that's why the result is indifferent to me. Like, it's nice to beat City, it's nice to go there and slap them up, but the result doesn't mean much to me in terms of right now because at the end of the season, if we're not seeing armpits, then at that point, now I'm starting to question the manager properly. But I'm managing until the end of the season. If I don't see armpits or if I don't see any reason, if he throws away the cups, basically, I'm Ange out. Basically, if he throws the cups away. That's
cool. Box office. Any final words? Because he's made some good points. Like less talking from the manager, more talking from Lange. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's the feeling I'm getting from some people. Do you know what I mean? Lange doesn't really talk that much, but Ange does all the talking. But yeah, what's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is this: I just need to look at that fixture list and the games that we've got in the next couple in December and January, and people forget. Europe's in January as well. Europe's in January as well.
I didn't know
so,
that
like I said, when people were talking to me about this squad, talking to me about Archie Gray, talking to me about Burvac, who can't even get on the pitch, right? When we're losing games, we only come on when we're winning games and the game's finished. And when we're coming in Europe and they're still getting bantered, right? This is why I said I don't like backups, right? This is why I said that I don't believe him as a coach, and this is now the time for him to prove himself, and that's it. And I'm, like I said, I don't feel sorry for them because I told people this. back in June 2023. I told you at the start of the season, right? I didn't say I haven't done the video about why I was Ange out. Well, I have done it. I did it in Jamaica, right? But people need clarified. But
Casual
now
flex.
I left it because I was getting bored. I was interested because I saw us playing Man City. We thrashed them, but I've seen it before, right? Because I forgot about it, which is what Kulu says. But that's mentality. But we're negative. So he says it. He says it. He says it's not a turning point. It's mentality with him. But when when Dan says it, when Savas says it, when I say it, when Elijah says it, oh, we're negative. We're Arsenal fans.
That's a
So
fair
make it
point.
Yeah,
make
I've heard that too
sense.
many times, man.
Make it make sense. Yeah. If it don't look right, it don't make sense. Yeah. If it don't make money, it don't make sense. That's what it's called every single time. That's what it says. Yeah. That's what the
Dollars, it
song
don't make
called.
sense.
You know.
Yeah.
You
Like
can
I
put
said every
lipstick on
single
a
time,
pig,
and
but it's
that's
still a
it.
pig,
And that's all I need to say,
basically.
and that's it.
I
You're only
know
gonna
why
get
people chat, you know.
you're only going to get a little snippet, like I said. I know Spurs Kings TV love Mr. Box Office. I know they love him, but they've had enough of him, and that's it. And I'll leave it to these two to finish it
Yeah,
off,
I'm
and
telling
that's
Ash,
it.
you,
Back to
Birdie,
you,
one
back
last
to you,
point
Ashmatic. I'm done. If you
I
don't know,
just want
get
to
to
make
know
quick, Ash.
Mr.
One
Box
last
Office TV. If you need to know more, and that's it.
for me, this manager can work something in these next 10 games, yeah? Because these next 10 games, even 15 games, is if he don't adapt, we are cooked, yeah? If I can see that my manager can adapt in these next 10 to 15 games, that we basically have the fridge in the goal, yeah? And do
yeah,
whatever he needs.
fridge
Yeah,
freezer,
exactly. I mean,
maybe
the
six,
way
seven.
the way he stands there, he puts
I
the
like
rock.
that, yeah.
Actually
He
taller
puts the
than me
rock
since
to
then.
shame. You know, he stands there. He looks like Stone Cold. He
Here's a
just don't.
Frankenstein.
And if he can adapt with that, even if we go and lose 5 games on and off sort of thing, yeah. But you can blatantly see the manager is trying to pull it
WD-40.
back more to cover the keeper.
Yeah.
I can actually show him the leeway for it, yeah. But if he just goes out and plays Ange ball again and does what he's done since I've seen him, and that's lack of adaptation, bar here and there, no consistency. I want him gone yesterday because now is really his chance to show that he can tweak a couple of things because he has to. And again, if we end up losing more than we win, whatever, but I see he's trying to pull it back, trying to cover the keeper, knowing our weak spot, I can actually get a bit of trust on the man that he can learn and adapt. City, excellent result. That's not good enough for me. Not if we go and get cooked by Fulham, then that's irrelevant. We go and do
Yeah.
Man City before and we go get done by bloody Ipswich. We go and do Aston Villa and go get cooked by bloody Palace. How can I have faith in that? I need consistency. But this time he
Yeah.
doesn't have to win them all. He just needs to show he can see the problem, so he's trying to cover the problem.
Yeah, and one point I want to make.
Big up.
I want to make one more point real quick, innit?
Big up.
Hey, shit, my bad.
Go
Hey,
on.
no, I want to make one more point. Really, is I've seen a lot of people like in my comments compare Ange to Arteta in terms of building up something, but the thing that they miss, right, is that Arteta won them an FA Cup straight away, and I feel like in terms of the Arsenal fans, to be fair, I'm not on Arsenal YouTube, so I don't know if this was a talking point for them or not. But in terms of at least the way I would have looked at it if I was an Arsenal fan, Arteta, he wanted a style of play, he wanted his players in, he wanted to be backed, he wanted a process. And getting an FA Cup straight away with a team that wasn't his was him being practical. And it's almost a reason for him to puff his chest and say, look, I just want you man an FA Cup. You wanted a trophy, I just got you a trophy with these players who you guys don't rate. I want time, give me time. And that's a reason for people to say, yeah, he just did it with players that aren't his, with a team that's not his, with a team that we don't like, with players we don't like. He just went, beat Chelsea, beat Man City, got an FA Cup. So we should give him that time. And I feel like this is what I want Ange to do, because we all want Ange to succeed. There's no Tottenham fan who doesn't want Ange to succeed. We just debate on whether he can succeed. And the best way to succeed is these players, who a lot of these players aren't your players. You have brought in some players. Go and just get anything. We've been starving for a trophy. We're starving so much. If I relied on trophies to eat food, I would be skinny right now. That's how much we have been starving for a trophy. It's been 17 years. We won a trophy when I was 6 years old or 5. And we just need any trophy. We get a Carabao Cup and Ange says, look, I just got you, man, a Carabao Cup. You needed a trophy, I just got you one. Give me a couple years to build my team the way I want, the style I want. You see what I want to do. All the fans would be behind him for the most part, because he's just gone and just gave us some food. He got us a trophy. So I feel like that's what Ange needs to do. Just prioritize the cup, even for this season. Win us something. just get most of the people who are Ange critics off your back because you just won a trophy. And then once you get that trophy, just say, yo, you guys know what I want to do. Give me a couple years just to make the players, get the players I want in, shore up a few tweaks with this high line and this Ange ball, and we go be gunning for a title. And we will believe him because he just brought us a trophy. So that's what I think I want Ange to do personally.
Cool. And on that notice, before anyone else says anything else, big up, because that was a long outro, boy. Hey, big up,
My bad.
Dan E, Hotspur Hood. You can catch them there. Mr. Box Office TV. Big yourself up. Obviously, big up Durag Diaries, who was on earlier. Oren doing his thing. Yeah, I'm saying, trying to defend the team. We got the defenders, we got the neutrals, we got the attackers. We got a whole starting 11 on this panel, man. But yeah, man, we move. Big up to the people listen back on Spotify. Any feedback is good feedback. But yes, thanks once again. Big up the chat. Once again, I'm going to get some of you chat members on the panel because there's no fun there in comments. I need to have a conversation with you guys as well. And I do respect you guys. I do want to hear your thoughts out loud so we can have that conversation. But yeah, man, as I always say,
cheers for having us on.
Appreciate being on, man.
Spurs. And yeah, man, we move, man. Let me end this broadcast. Let me end.